Well, hello, everybody. It is stream day. Wow. Wow. Isn't that wild? Okay, hold on. I feel like I just adjusted the gain on this recently, and now I'm back down to my previous levels. Is that what is going on? It's like just persistently wants to get quieter, my microphone. You know, we're dealing with lefty audio all day, every day. Okay. Well, how is everybody? How we doing? I feel tired, mostly. Had a big day yesterday. Don't necessarily want to go in a lot of detail about it today. I want to maybe like save that for my positivity posting on Wednesday. Oh boy. Okay. Where's chat? Come back, chat. I miss you. Oh hey, thank you for the tier 1 sub. 1 second. Let me pull up everything that I need. Where is the stuff? Okay, there's one. There's one window. There's another window. There we go. Okay. Thank you. It showed that you subbed twice. Did that actually happen twice? But thank you. Yes, thanks for the Elon's Tears mug. Totally. I'm glad that people enjoyed that. It was my first time trying a little limited run. Only a few people got one. That's okay. It was a successful experiment. But yeah, did 2 of those go through? Because if so, it's not my fault. But also, I just want to make sure that they're counted. We'll just count it for 10 anyway. Somebody had a recurring donation happen before stream today. So we'll just go ahead and count it as 2 anyhow. And blah, 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 blah. Oh boy. Wow. It was a 3-month sub. Oh, okay. Tired, but doing okay. That is pretty much where I'm at. You know, I'm a little sore. I'm tired. You know, I feel like I slept real good, except that I keep having weird dreams again. Cool. Return to Monkey. True. Well, there's 30 people in here and only 18 likes. You know that I enjoy hanging out before we actually launch into like the official news part of the segment. And you know that I want more people in here hanging out with us. So if you hit the like button, it immediately tells the stream people to show the stream to more people. And that's how it works. I am 3 beverage person today. 3 beverages. I have my chicken broth stock stuff today, and I have tea, which I don't normally do, and I have water. Hello, Kitty Tick. Hello. Sophie, with a super serious question in the YouTube chat, says, do you think electroshock therapy will feel like getting high? I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. I think like from a physiological standpoint, they're probably similar experiences. Like, I don't know what chemicals get released. And like, I guess it would depend on like what you're high on. Cause like psilocybin induces a large amount of serotonin in the brain. I'm not sure what chemicals actually get released from most drugs other than that though. And then electroshock therapy, I think electroshock therapy would probably feel more like runner's high, where there's like adrenaline and cortisol happening. That's my guess. I don't know. Oh, nice kitty. Bought a new computer. I was afraid of the prices ballooning. I bought a pre-built that I plan to take apart and put back together because I don't know the company, but it is a great list of parts, and I will be finally able to run 90% of games. Hell yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, no, totally. I was just thinking about that myself with like, I don't like need a new computer mouse in the sense that mine still works fine, but it is super old and like parts are wearing away that are like painful to my fingers now. Like the scroll wheel has like worn some of the plastic away, and now that's like whatever is underneath the plastic or like a harder plastic or something is like rough under my finger. Um, which I guess the solution to that problem is just stop scrolling Facebook infinitely. But, you know, I'm like, okay, I should probably get a new mouse. Before the tariffs, I'm like, I should buy something that's, you know, already in the US. Go to a computer store, buy something that they physically have in stock. There's no, I don't think there's a Micro Center, like, anywhere near. I'm just like, I don't actually know if there's one up in Seattle. I haven't checked. But I don't think there's one in Portland. So there's, as far as I'm concerned, like no central hub of computer buying stuff. Nice. I'm glad Padfoot Sam. I don't know what was going on with it before that you couldn't get on the website, but I'm glad that whatever it is has resolved itself. The only micro center on the West Coast is LA area and San Fran area. Okay, well, I do not plan on driving to California right now. Not part of my spring break plans. Oh no, that sucks. Been building a robot since early December, and now I'm basically SOL for many parts because I was ordering through AliExpress. Yeah, my partner has recently gotten back into flying his drone, and he was like, oh, I need new batteries because I didn't store the batteries correctly before. And it's been like a long time since he's played with it anyway, so you probably would need to get new batteries. And he like bought some, you know, a week ago, and it was totally fine. And then he went to go buy more, and he was like, why is the estimated shipping like 2 weeks longer than it was last time? And I was like, bro, tariffs. Like, people are probably buying shit like a lot right now just to try to get the stuff before the tariffs hit. Mm. I just want to share with you all that sometimes little things that you do for yourself can be really good. Like, I did a blooming tea today, and I am like, I feel a little bit better, even though I was like, okay, I was getting bogged down because I was looking at all the news, right? That's how I spend Sunday morning, is like trying to refine, what are we going to talk about on the show today? What bullshit has happened over the last week? But I made myself a blooming tea, and it's actually the last one that of my blooming teas. My partner has a few, but it's the last one of my blooming teas. And if you don't know what that is, it's like you buy a glass tea kettle. It's very small. Not a tea kettle. I mean, it's kind of a tea kettle, but it's glass, so don't like put it on the burner or anything. Um,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, Bobtailed Trucker. Thank you. That's very generous. A $50 super chat said hashtag Team Lux. I see what you did there. Thank you. We still don't have the schedule for the rest of the month, so I don't. Oh no, I am not going to be on Takis this week. You'll have Josie, I think Josie and Arden this week. But yes, thank you very much. That's so generous. Yeah, who are we fighting? Who's versus? Buff. If you vote for like hashtag Team Mitternacht, then that's not a vote for me this time. It's a vote for him, actually. He's not even in here. That's a surprise. Not under my desk or anything. Is there something going on with penguins? Yeah, I wasn't sure if we were going to cover tariffs today. I don't know. Does anybody feel like that is something that is under my purview? Anyway, blooming teas is what I was talking about. If you just got in here, hit the like button, babe. It's quick, it's easy, it's free, and I appreciate it. it immediately helps the show too. It's not like you're just doing nothing. Uh, so you get a glass tea kettle thing, and the ones that I recently got was like just a sphere, just like a very densely packed sphere that was like tied together, and you plop it in to the kettle and you pour in the hot water, and over the course of like the 5 minute steep time, it blooms, like it opens. It's usually like a dried flower with dried tea leaves. Obviously, some of them are like herbal teas and not strictly tea. I think the one that I had today was a green tea based on the color that it was after it steeped. But yeah, and it's just like wonderful to watch. The little air bubbles are escaping, and it's kind of like blooming and like unfolding, and you kind of like, you might have to like shimmy the teapot around. Teapot, not tea kettle, teapot. Got it. I figured it out. Just to, if it's like blooming in the opposite direction from where you're sitting, just really lovely. Just a little nice thing to do for yourself. And then I let it cool down a little bit and got my milk in there and got some wildflower honey and my disappearing, reappearing TARDIS mug, which, like, this is the one that appears when it's hot. And then on my side, there's one that disappears when it is hot, but not all the way. It doesn't disappear all the way. It disappears most of the way, though. Classic disappearing, reappearing TARDIS mug. That's alarming in a box. Was it an honest mistake? What happened? Said he was at the wrong house. Okay, well, that's not cool. I feel like we're having a lovely spring. By the way, sorry, if you're just coming in here, we will talk about how it's gotten bad and worse. I just want to take a moment to like warm up because we just started the stream. So if you don't want to just chill for a few minutes, that's fine. Hit the like button and then leave. But I appreciate just having a little human moment of connection. And, you know, maybe you don't give a shit about the things that I'm interested in. That's fine. But like, I just think it's good to, you know, have those moments where you're just chilling. Finally, nice weather for now. Yeah, it was absolutely stunning this weekend. Like, I have been so pleased with springtime weather here. It's like I'm still kind of in the back of my mind worried about what summertime is going to be like because I know that it gets very hot here sometimes during the summer. But yeah, oof. The cherry blossoms blooming has been nice. Yo, it's been so beautiful. And now there's other flowers that are starting to bloom. I think there's like, I don't know what they are actually. I think that they're pears, but like there's more different kinds of trees blooming with like darker pink colors. Hit like and leave. Pshaw. Yeah. Well, you know, I want to give people permission to leave if they don't want. I'm like, here's what we're doing right now. We're just hanging out for a minute. We'll get back to politics shortly. But if you don't want to hang out with us, if you just want the politics, then like at least hit like before you leave. That way I'm absolving you of guilt. If there's people who don't want to just hang out. Hands-off protest. Yeah, I am planning on talking about the hands-off protest as part of our like good news segment, I think. It seems like that's what fits in well there. Okay, so I have one clearly defined bad news story. Okay. Two clearly defined bad news story. And then I kind of am like, okay, I have the Wisconsin Supreme Court thing. Okay, that's a positive news story. I don't have a lot to add to that. And then there's like, excuse me, oh my gosh. There's the hands-off protests, which I want to cover. I think that's going to have to be like an in-betweeny. That's going to be the one that like technically starts the positive news part of the story. Because like I've got some feelings about the hands-off protests, okay? I've got some feelings about the state of where we're at right now in the context of the last 8 years. And so my coverage of the hands-off protests cannot be unilaterally positive because I don't feel unilaterally positively about them. It's not exactly a bad news. Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't really fit neatly into either category. Yes, smash all the buttons. It all helps. Exactly, Calacia. Thank you. Are you gardening yet? So, I have a rather large garden plot, and I have been still recovering from the move, and like I've been kind of deconditioning like a little bit over the last year, not exercising enough, and like not even being mobile enough. I've just been like sitting down a lot, especially since I had COVID. I was like, I don't want to stress my body out, so I'm just gonna chill. But even before that, I hadn't been exercising, and my job is like I have to like look. I have the option to stand up now, which is great, and I now have like a bicycle pedal thing that I can, even when I'm sitting down, I could get some like movement in my body. So I'm working on ways to combat this, but my job naturally is one where you just sit at a desk. So we're trying to combat those things. And so gardening is a very physically intensive task. I'm going to try to get my partner to help me weed my plot this upcoming weekend. And then I am probably, I haven't decided whether I'm going to sow anything inside. I do have some seeds. I saved some seeds when I bought like a couple heirloom tomatoes from the farmer's market last year. I saved some of the seeds, and I was thinking about starting those, but the garden coordinator said that they often get so many plants donated in like May that some of those plants just don't ever get planted and they just kind of go to waste. So I was like, okay, why don't I just wait? I have some volunteers in my garden plot. There's something like maybe Brussels sprouts. There's like some purple kale in my garden plot. Like there's stuff in there already. And there's a good chance that I'm going to have a bunch of volunteer tomatillo plants because apparently there's like sometime in the past there was tomatillo planted there, and there's like a shit ton of skins of tomatillos in there. So I'm guessing that I'm going to have to weed that out. But yeah, so between the volunteers that I still have in my garden and the plants that are going to get donated, I'm kind of waiting to do the bulk of my gardening until those plants get donated. Gardening tillers are not cheap, new, or used. Yeah, conveniently, there actually is a gardening tiller, I think, in the community garden, like, barn. I don't know how to describe it. But I don't know how to use it. And I was like, I kind of would, I don't know. I haven't decided whether I want to use the tiller or not. TLDR. There is one. I have the option. It's just not sure if I want to do it. 50 viewers in here. Thank you. It should be very easy for us to get to 50 likes, which would be great. And y'all, like, if there's something I'm missing from this week. So, okay, I'll tell you what I have so far for the show, and you can tell me if there's anything I need to add. There is now a specific page on this womenshealth.gov website. So it's official .gov website called Protecting Women and Children, and it's basically like a bunch of anti-trans stuff with Riley Gaines in a video at the top of the page. And as part of that story, I guess, Trump declares trans youth child abuse and says that there's going to be a punishment and has designated April as Child Abuse Prevention Month, but it is pretty much exclusively an attack on trans people. I don't know why I have those listed as basically the same thing in my notes. Like protecting children. Oh, it's because as part of this website, Protecting Women and Children is also his like, wait, did we already cover this last week? Hold on. What did we talk about last week? I need my notes. Okay, so for last week, Trump admin school funding, okay? Okay, so I don't think I covered this last week, but there's like an executive order about like protecting women and children, and it's just like a bunch of explicitly anti-trans stuff. Is this part of the I'm gonna defund California thing? No, I think that these are separate. Okay, we're just getting to a point where all of this stuff is just so redundant that it's like hard to keep track of, you know? Oh man. They were falsely advertising as Planned Parenthood. Dude, that's crazy. Okay, so anyway, yeah, so the protecting women and children thing, and I guess sort of along with that, yeah, the President Trump declaring April as National Child Abuse Prevention Month, talking about how sinister gender ideology is. I guess I'll kind of just lump that in as one bad story. My next thing is a young trans woman gets arrested for washing her hands in the women's bathroom at the Florida State Capitol, which is the first known arrest since the bathroom law was passed in 2023. I want to talk about that. And then I guess the hands-off protest, it kind of sort of counts as like a negative news story. I guess I would prefer to have at least one other challenging or negative news story. I just don't know what to include. I don't know if tariffs is my bag, you know what I mean? Neighbor around here is starting up his vegetable garden again. Yeah, no, totally. Next year, I'm sure that I will have a cold. I'm probably gonna garden throughout the winter, like that. I'm allowed to do that. And during the wintertime, you can plant things like spinach. There are certain like cold weather plants. Since it doesn't really like freeze here, you can kind of get away with some stuff. And like maybe, I might even like cover the area with like a tarp or something if it was gonna like freeze in a way that I was worried about any of those plants. But totally, yeah, you can throughout the cold season continue gardening. And I would have done that, except I just moved and I didn't have the energy to like weed. Genuinely, I don't even know how big it is. I would need to get out there with my tape measure to figure out like what amount of space I'm actually working with, but it's quite large for one person just all of a sudden. Last year my garden was like, I want to say it was like maybe 2.5 feet wide by like 8 feet long. I don't know. It was not very big. Thank you, Ruby Rose. YouTube is dropping trans hate speech protections. Coin Silver, you're correct. That is one of the things that I wanted to talk about. Do I not have that open right now? Okay, I pulled up hands off. That's just something maybe I retweeted on Blue Sky. Okay, yes, YouTube removes gender identity from hate speech policy. That is certainly something I want to discuss. Okay, great. Thank you. Oh shit. I might even have to make a separate video just like addressing that on its own. Just because I think that that's bullshit and I want to send a more clear, direct message to YouTube. Yikes, should I be looking for an alternative place to post my vlog stuff for my transition? I mean, it probably couldn't hurt. I know that I am putting all my eggs in the YouTube basket, which is not the best. But, so here's the deal. They're taking... Oh my god, I don't want to talk about this right now. We'll get into it in a bit. There's a lot of implications to this. Basically, it probably is going to be fine as far as you uploading your own content, and YouTube already gives creators a lot of tools to moderate the comments for themselves. So, like, I personally already don't find it all that problematic, even when people are objectively hateful. And, like, the longer your channel is active, the less hate comments you're going to get, because people don't know that they're blocked from commenting on your page when they comment. Like, So let's say somebody posts like, there's only 2 genders, you'll always be a man, which is something that people regularly say to me. So they might post that, right? And I just go hide user from channel. I don't delete the comment. I say hide user from channel. And then every comment that person has ever left on my channel is permanently hidden, and they cannot comment further, but it doesn't like tell you. You basically, they can still comment and hit the comment button, and it just goes into the void forever. I do have a list of people who have been permanently hidden from the channel, and I could manually go and re-enable their comments, but that's how it works. And it's so like the longer you're on the platform, the fewer people are going to be available in the pool of hateful people that are allowed to comment on your shit. You know what I mean? Unless they catch on and start using multiple accounts or something. But the thing is that, yeah, they probably just think you're manually deleting all of their comments. But no, it's just, it's like down in the toilet. I never see it. I thought that Substack was problematic. And like, no shade. I know that Aaron in the morning uses Substack. It is a distribution platform. But as I understand it, they host Nazi shit too. I don't know. In a box. Oh my gosh. Thank you. So generous. 5 tier 2 subs gifted to have some money while I make myself food. Also Mayo side. True. Those were gifted to Padfoot Sam, Baphomet, Mabs Alicorn, Autine, and Locust Luna. Hopefully you all enjoy your dicks and other various emojis that you now have access to. Okay, what? I'm sure that put us over the goal. Like, I'm almost certain that did. Okay, yes, that puts us at $110 for today. Which means we've hit the goal. And I get to debase myself for your viewing pleasure. Unless you want the cat. Which is totally doable. Enjoy your dick. Yeah, your dicks. Well, it's an emoji in my chat. Can I get some dicks in chat so that we can show that that's one of my emojis in my chat? This is why you want to be on the website, y'all. Yeah. Hey, Shakespeare says, I post my poetry around hoping to publish trans stories in the near future. Hey, I love that. I am trying to get more into writing. I mean, I'm in this kind of growth period where I'm trying to get more into reading and writing and art. I know, in a box, you keep giving me donations but not subscribing. I can't. You have to. Like, that's how it works. The subscription is what brings the dicks to the yard, I guess. Yeah. Good job, Baphomet. I'm glad for you. Okay. Something I am starting to do now is I'm trying to, like, just for periods of the day, like, hold my arms out, even if it's just for, like, 30 seconds at a time, because I think that will, like, kind of help with my shoulders, even if it's not, like, literally exercise in the way that it's, like, a repetitive motion. But anyway, the biceps are the thing that's impressive. I have to work on my biceps for nothing else, but if for no other reason than just because everybody seems to enjoy it so much. And eventually I'll get a setup here where it's much easier for me to be, like, flexing my back muscles too. It's funny when you're playing in the background and you hear, yeah, I appreciate all your dicks in my chat. Yeah, true. Find poetry readings, go meet other trans writers. Making those connections is the difference between dreaming about publishing prose and actually making it happen. Totally. Yeah, I guess I'm not really thinking about publishing so much as I'm just thinking about, like, for the purposes of being like a human who needs an artistic outlet. I've got nice guns. Sadly, I'm not a streamer. You can start an OnlyFans or something. I don't know. What platform doesn't promote some degenerate content at one time or another? Free speech is wild across the board. Surf responsibly. Yeah, I mean, I can understand people who are like, I don't want to do business with fucking like Redbubble or something. It's like, how can you have like a shirt that says trans rights hosted on the same website? Or I think it's Redbubble. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sorry. But like, if you're like, how can you host your trans rights content on the same website that's hosting like swastika shit or something, you know? Like, that's an extreme example, but I do seem to recall one of the print on demand t-shirt websites had this problem. And like, I get it. I understand. Did I miss the gun show? Ever so slightly. You can take it back maybe 2 minutes and then come back. I put them away because I'm actually comfortable wearing this hoodie. There might be a time later in the stream where I get too warm. Shit happens. Okay, so just to make sure we have this all clear, I'm not going to get started on it right this moment. We're going to continue to kind of meander in conversation for a little bit. But okay, we have the Protecting Women and Children Office on Women's Health bullshit, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's basically a hub for like anti-trans stuff, whether it's like sports, whether it's saying we don't want to give children health care. It's this thing about making the definitions like, okay, this is a child abuse and this is chemical and surgical mutilation. And then that kind of ties in with Trump also declaring April being the National Child Abuse Prevention Month, which is again targeted completely at trans people. Trans woman arrested in Florida for using the bathroom. Boom. YouTube removes gender identity from hate speech policy. Then we'll talk about the hands-off protests. I still need to kind of figure out exactly what links I'm going to point to for that, or like where I'm going to get my pictures from and things. I really do believe that you should not be going to protests like this with your whole face out. I mean, obviously, like, I think that you should try not to catch all of the respiratory illnesses that are spreading around, and like N95s are like not that difficult to get a hold of, so I think that you should be wearing one. But also, we live in a regime. So you might want to cover your face for that reason too. Make zines, spread zines, go to zine conventions. Fair. Yeah, that's an art thing that you can do. Gonna be blurring so many faces. Yeah, so I just feel like I might look at some pictures of like very large crowds, but I'm like, I guess though, in order to make the point that I want to make, I'm gonna have to look at some of the signs. Because part of what I want to talk about is like, what is the political message? Like, what is the political message and plan and policy proposals behind this protest? Like, what is it saying and what is it doing? What is it trying to accomplish? So for that reason, I kind of need to look at what the signs are. Okay, I found a picture of like the back of some people's heads. Okay, I can look at that picture. Zines are great and have a really interesting political history. Yeah, totally. Good story is Musk's daughter is getting cool interviews. It reminds me of iCarly, TBH. Okay, let's talk about Vivian Wilson for a second here, because we did talk about her mostly because we were like already talking about Elon Musk and there was news about her in the same week, right? And we kind of wanted to bring some context to everything that was going on. So this is my chicken broth, by the way. Chicken broth. So Vivian Wilson is 20 years old. And she said in that Teen Vogue, chill, Sophie, chill, chill, chill. Um, I know that you're doing a Willy Wonka, but chill. So Vivian Wilson is 20 years old, and she says that she wants to be a streamer. And the unfortunate thing is, I think that she could very easily have that. I just wish that this was not something that people aspired to do. You know, if I was 20 right now and I had the kind of notoriety that she does, I mean, maybe stream as like your side job while you pay for yourself to go to college for fucking something that actually matters. Like, if it was me, if I knew the person that I was going to become, if I knew what my values were when I was 18 or 20 or whatever, I would go to school for conservation, probably. And having spent some time in nature recently, I reified, and like the way that I feel about stuff like the coral reefs and like wildlife in general, like I feel so passionately about that like that would be the thing. I don't really think that it's possible for me to get into conservation work because of my health issues now. I don't know, maybe in a couple years when I feel more healthy, but like I also don't know where to start without being like, I have a college degree in something that is related to this. So like if I'm thinking back on like if I could spend the youth of my 20s like in a way that I think would, you know, apply myself to something that would make a genuine difference, that's what I would go do. So I just feel like bad when like a 20-year-old trans person is like, I want to be a streamer. I'm like, I wish that you could see that you're capable of so much more than this, and like that a lot of us are doing this because like we can't do other jobs. I don't know, man. I just don't, I guess like I don't find it very aspirational being a streamer. It's like a thing that you happen to do, I guess, and like, you know, it does require a set of skills, and I'm not trying to say that it is not a skill-based job, but I am just saying that it's like outside the normal mode and typically not something that like is stable also. So I don't know. It's just I feel like bad when people are like, that's what I want to do. I'm like, you don't know how stressful this actually is and how difficult it actually is. And like, I don't think it makes a huge difference. It's like people of older generations wanting to be celebrities. Yeah, I guess it's like, yeah, a desire to be seen, like a desire for notoriety, like a desire. I don't know. Being a streamer and a successful one requires significant luck to make it as a job. Right. Even me, like I don't make great money. I make enough money that I owe too much in taxes at the end of the year. You know, I make enough money that I'm like, how are you trying to charge me that much money in taxes? That's crazy. But not enough to be like, oh yeah, it's going to be easy for me to buy a house or something. You know, it's going to take work. We're going to have to save. We're going to have to be frugal. Like we're going to have to plan. If that's, you know, even going to be in the realm of possibility. I'm, you know, fingers crossed for a bubble popping in the market, but it's been fucking crazy. The land and house prices right now. I bet she's loaded. Vivian, I don't know. It's like you would think like, okay, her dad is rich, but also they're alienated from each other. They're estranged. I don't know who her mom is. Like, is her mom rich also? Or like, is it, I don't know. I don't know what the situation is. You can't just assume that a rich person's kid is also rich. I can guess that she's probably better off than a lot of people, or at least she was better off before she came out as trans. So like, yeah, she had like a great, well-funded childhood, probably, even though her dad was not around. Like, I'm not trying to say that it was great in that regard, but that she probably didn't have much like material physical need. Her mom got some of Elon's money. Sure. Yeah. But like, you know, it's like winning the lottery. You have to be careful with it. So I want to start a stream and hope to teach disenfranchised humans that are stuck watching streams instead of learning how to do something that can lead somewhere at least. Whole goal is teaching people how to learn and how to get past the sucking at something to be kind of good at something. I'm hoping to help like 500 to 1,000 people across the whole career, and that would be more than, I'd be more than happy. Yeah, no, I guess like I am helping people to some degree, but I just feel like I could be making a much more tangible difference. I don't know. Maybe I do need to just like see if there are volunteer opportunities related to conservation, and then like work really hard to get my health to a place where I can do that kind of work, because I know it'll involve being outside and being very physical. Based on recent comments from Matt, what's the odds of getting friends to leave Texas for the PNW? I think that they are not thinking about going to the PNW. If you're talking about Matt Dillahunty, I would love it, but I don't think that that's where they have in mind, which is fine. I'm a little bit disappointed, but I get it. You know, they have their own kind of set of plans, and I don't know how public they're being about what exactly their plans are, and I don't want to spoil it or anything. But I don't think that they're planning to move up here, unfortunately. I also had, thank you, Kitty Tig. That's very appreciated. I do like to know when I've helped people out. That is good stuff. You've helped me out a lot, so reciprocity there. Vivian went exclusively to private schools. Yeah, totally. I can understand why that would be the case. Yes, I did create a community for all you weirdos. But I was kind of thinking about my long-term plans recently, and y'all here have probably heard me talk about this before. Between climate change and economic instability, let's say, my plan has been I'm going to move to the Pacific Northwest because it's going to be climate stable, relatively speaking, and even as climate change continues to accelerate, this area, if anything, will become more agriculturally appropriate compared to someplace like Texas, where there is going to gradually be zero agricultural output because animals and crops cannot survive in those heat and dry conditions. My plan has basically been, oh my God, I need to get to a self-sufficiency point where like I don't want to have to rely on anybody for anything. So I've been like, okay, the greenhouse, there's got to be a greenhouse, and here's the crops that I want to grow, and here's all the skills that I want to learn, like canning and food preservation. And like, I want to have chickens or rabbits, or let's get a hunting license. Let's learn how to fish, like all of these different things. I've basically been like, I need to cover all these bases. But I've been in this area for a little while now, and I've been going to farmers markets and, particularly like we drove, like the furthest we've been from home this week. We've started exploring the area a little bit. And I don't know if I need to have all of that self-sufficiency, because this place already has a lot of infrastructure for growing food, right? Like there are vineyards everywhere. There's orchards, there's more conventional farms. You know, maybe there's not as much of a corn-centric farming situation out here compared to where I lived in Kansas, obviously, you know, corn and soybeans kind of thing. But yeah, so I am kind of wondering if maybe I could have like a much smaller situation and like have some of my own food preparation and stuff, you need to dedicate your whole life to crop growing to sustain yourself. That is not the case. It seems like a ton of work and it is a huge investment initially, but once you can get to a certain place where like a lot of things are automated, um and a lot of things are like perennial or self-seeding, like yeah, there's a huge initial investment. That's why you kind of gradually build each component over time, but like you totally can grow enough food for yourself, but that's like a very not community minded way of thinking if you're like, I need to produce literally everything for myself. Or I have also been thinking like, yo, I need to convince a few of my friends to move up here so that we can, buy land together or buy land near each other or buy a piece of land and partition it out. However is the best legal way to make that happen. And then like, we can have shared resources, or like if I make this and you make that, then we can trade kind of thing. And I feel like even that is still like operating in this mode of thinking that's like very individualist, or like very like people are going to fuck me over, or like I won't be able to rely on other people, or like other people are unpredictable and so therefore I'm just going to do my own thing and I want to have space away from other people. It's like the isolationism kind of still happening, even though I'm not of the prepper mindset. I'm more of a like, let me build my own permaculture mindset. That doesn't change the fact that it is still highly like individualistic and still kind of fundamentally based in a lack of trust. So the better thing to do really would be to get like a smaller plot of land. Now I still ideally would like to have enough land that I could hunt my own land, but that's crazy. Like that's that's going to be a crazy huge investment. With how expensive everything is right now, I don't know if that's even possible. So perhaps like a smaller situation would be feasible and also like better. The real version of a couch fort, just because it's going to be comfy. It's easier for native vegetables if you can make it possible. Yeah, totally. Permaculture highly promotes community. Yeah, well, but I mean, like, I could also just plant my own garden in a way that is conducive to permaculture. Like, you know what I mean? Like that, you can plant these things that are supposed to grow together and that are perennials, or at least that a lot of things that even if there are annual, they don't completely die back in this part of the country. Have to be prepared for veterinary care and crop diseases. Yeah, sure, of course. That's why it's like not possible to be fully independent of anything. Because like I don't have the skills to be a veterinarian. I'm gonna need to be friends with a veterinarian, you know? Exactly, drone and goddess. Totally. Thank you. Yes, subsistence farmers actually worked less than almost any modern worker under capitalism. Even not even just subsistence farmers, like even if you look at serfs, like peasants in feudalism, they would work an average of like 20 hours a week. Now, again, granted, that's an average of 20 hours a week. There are going to be times of the year where you're working your ass off from sun up to sundown. But then in the winter, like you have a completely different set of skills that you're doing during the winter, and a lot of downtime and lots of music and lots of having sex and like lots of having festivals to enjoy. Like you realize that governments like and by governments I mean like lords used to have to like pay for festivals and feasts and stuff because the peasants would get bored. And then like a bored peasantry is a peasantry that's likely to do unrest, right? Like literally you would keep people entertained. And you have to give them a fair wage or fair share of their labor. You can't take all of the crops. You have to you say, okay, you're going to give me a portion of these crops, and in exchange I will let you live on this land. Yeah, but like I think I don't know what the difference is. It's like maybe it's a weaponry difference, like the difference of how power is concentrated. and also the technological advancements that have gone along with it. But it seems like feudal lords have a much greater respect for the peasantry than our current feudal lords have respect for our peasantry. Dividing labor is exponentially more productive. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, obviously, specialized labor is still ideal. And I do still think it's ideal to go in on a situation where, like, there's maybe 6 people all contributing, and, you know, maybe one of those people takes care of our one dairy cow or something. Random tech question. Do you listen to your computer audio through your audio interface? No, I don't use my audio interface. I have speakers plugged directly into the speaker port in the back of my computer, and that's how I listen to audio through my computer. Yeah, it's just through the USB. The fact that we have to spend hundreds of dollars a month to watch the Coliseum when that shit used to be free is hilarious. Yeah, like the things that pacify us are things that we are now having to spend our precious and limited resources to acquire. Just doing laundry was a full work week for several people, which is why you only did it a few times a year. Yeah, no, like doing things by hand like that for sure. I mean, yeah, but even then, people have been like using hand cranks and stuff to improve the technology of that, or like washing stuff in the river, you know, makes that faster. But yes, like you're not wrong that lots of tasks used to take more time, and technology has made those tasks take less time. And now we have a whole other set of skills, which is like machine maintenance. Like, how do we keep like a good, solid washing machine working in like a long, permanent term situation? Oh my gosh. I love it when you guys are so interested in the conversation that I'm like, I literally can't read all of your comments. There's too many. Serfs had a lot more freedom than we do today. It's messed up that we advance in tech and stuff and simultaneously have less time and freedom. Yes, agreed. And that when things get automated for us here, like when things happen that reduce the amount of necessary labor, that we experience that as like a crisis of, oh my God, how are we going to pay our bills? Instead of like, oh wow, isn't that great? We're going to have so much more free time. We're going to have so much more time to self-actualize and explore and make music and have sex, you know? Like those are fundamental human joys that we don't have enough time to fully immerse ourselves in. I have a desk fan that causes my interface to malfunction. I think what happens is like you guys start complaining about my audio being too quiet and everything is working fine, but I go ahead and try to fix the drivers. And then after I fix the drivers, I forget that that means that I have to go into Streamlabs and like re-add the microphone to the Streamlabs interface. And that's usually what happens when the audio isn't working. Typically, that's what's happening. Yeah, true. You got to find good, solid, old appliances because most of them now are, you know, planned obsolescence. Most people do not have less free time than medieval serfs. That is hogwash. I mean, I was pretty sure that I was watching like a historian talk about that, like, average across the year, serfs only work like 20 hours a week. And yes, that there are times when they work much harder, but then obviously, like, there's the entire winter where you have downtime. I'm planning on becoming a carpenter. Can I join your permaculture community? Listen, come to the Willamette Valley. That's the part of the world that I'm gonna settle in, I think. You know, We like it here. Ooh, dropping some controversy. Kitty says people hating each other over sports and teams is just as functional as racism in keeping our population divided. Feels like there are so many layers of our us versus them problem. That's spicy. I can only imagine that is dependent on a strange and stringent definition of what is work. I mean, yeah, possibly. I do not remember where I originally heard that claim because I watch a lot of videos about medieval history and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it could be very limited scope or something. Not to mention that sure, you had Sundays off, but you had a 2-hour walk to church, 5-hour service, and 2-hour walk home that was mandatory. I did not know about that. Or I don't know if that was like just super regional. Like maybe I just haven't watched something that covered that particular topic. But yeah, I mean, I guess that does, if that's the case, then that does kind of throw a wrench in that. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I'd have to research that in particular. Yes, I'm aware that serfs did not usually ride horses. They might have had like a donkey and a cart, but even that was like not necessarily common. Okay. Okay, I need... Okay, so I have like my one actually good story now. So Susan Crawford wins the Wisconsin Supreme Court. That is kind of my one big positive story. Obviously, the hands-off protests is like kind of a positive story, but also kind of not. So I think I need like at least one more just genuinely positive story. I just don't know what that is. I don't have that ready. Georgia Democrats walk out. Okay, maybe. We'll think about that. Yeah, I guess I could consider this a positive story. This one is like in Georgia, there's a flood of anti-trans bills and the Georgia Democrats walked out. I feel like, yeah, we should acknowledge, if I'm going to sit here and criticize the Democrats for not doing enough, I have to acknowledge when the Democrats do actually something. There was a walkout. Like basically all of the Democrats in the Georgia House. Yes. In the state house of Georgia, the Democrats walked out because they were going to lose the vote anyway. And they were like, we're going to, this is what we need, Cory Booker stood for 25 hours, IDK if it's been covered or positive. Wow, was that this week? I guess that's like something to mention. Although he didn't he turn around and immediately vote to confirm the Trump nominee? Is like, you could have at least performatively voted against. Am I wrong on that? I'm not sure that I have a lot to add on that story either, to be clear. Like, oh, he did a thing. Like, I guess, yeah, like that is something. Xena says, I'm at that weird point in exercise where there's a layer of fat tissue over my muscles that are more active and efficient. Hey, that's nice. He wasn't filibustering, it was pure performance. I respect that he had a lot of cogent remarks. Like, I respect that he didn't read from the encyclopedia or the phone book, and he spent the entire 25 hours talking about real Americans and how they were actually being harmed. Whoa. Thank you. Accidentally clicked something and made a video start playing. Yeah, but I don't know that I have a lot to add on that. It's like, yeah, we want to see the Democrats doing something. So I feel like we should acknowledge when Democrats are doing something. But I just feel like him voting to confirm the Trump nominee right afterward, like, took all of the wind out of it for me. And so I don't want to cover that in a positive news segment and me be like, except he immediately fucking voted to confirm the Trump nominee. Yeah, it also would have been more useful if he was blocking an actual bill and like ticking the time down on an actual bill and being like, okay, this vote, if we don't vote on this, then it's not passing this session or whatever, you know, something like that would have been more meaningful. He went for 26 plus hours. He looked actually crazy by the end and had not drank water in 35 hours or eaten in 70 plus hours. Even if it was largely performative, it is something meant to show that they at least want to be heard. Yeah. Okay, so the hands-off protests and Cory Booker are going to be the same segment today. Because I have the same feelings about both of those things. So that's the plan. There's got to be more positive news. Yeah. I'm trying. I'm trying to find it. Droning Goddess says, I feel like he was mostly doing this to insulate himself from the potential wave of primary challenges the Dems are staring down the barrel of. Fair enough. Yeah, no. I know that Kat Abugazale is running to replace a Democrat in her district in Illinois. You know, so I do think, yeah, we should be primarying a lot of these Democrats. They don't want to fucking do anything. We need to primary them. That's how it works. Oh yeah, so this is, I think we could consider this as good news. There's a proposed California ballot initiative called the Luigi Mangione Act, which the purpose of it is to make it harder for insurers to deny medical care. I want to make sure that this is not just a joke. Okay, yeah, the OAG.gov, Office of Attorney General.gov, Sacramento, California. The Luigi Mangione Access to Healthcare Act. Wow, okay. Fascinating. I will consider that one of our good news items for this week. That's crazy. That's legit crazy. I don't know why I'm so thirsty today. Positive news is Destiny is getting sued. Cool. I feel like he is super irrelevant. I don't know. I guess he still has like a decent number of people who watch him, but I just don't care about him at all. You know what I mean? Oh man, okay. So I gotta get all these things in my notes now. There's a lot more Microsoft Word involved in my job than you might think. There's also a little bit more Microsoft Excel in my job than you might think. Okay, what even is today? It's like fucking what day is it? Oh my god, it's the 6th. If you're not writing the date every day, it's really easy to forget the date. I'm just getting my notes organized here, and then we can consider starting to segue into the news. I don't know if it's going to be a full show today. It's entirely possible that I will dip out after like 2.5 hours instead of like 4 hours, just because I have a lot to do. I have accidentally made my Sundays extremely busy, so I need to start moving some of that stuff to Saturday instead. And also, I'm super fucking tired, so there's that. Okay, what is this? Okay, there's that. Trans woman arrested in Florida. And YouTube changes the rules. Okay, I have like 3 things open for Wisconsin. I probably don't need all 3 of those things open from Wisconsin, but whatever, we're going to include them anyway. In defiance of Elon Musk, Susan Crawford won her election. Why are judges being elected? Why are you like this, Wisconsin? It seems like you shouldn't be like that. Okay, then we're going to do like a Cory Booker / hands off segment, which I don't really think I need links for. Oh, wait, no, hold on. Cory Booker hands off is going to go after the YouTube thing, but before the Susan Crawford thing. Okay. And I guess we'll save Luigi Mangione for last. Okay, what is this called again? The where is it? The Luigi Mangione Access to Healthcare Act. Insane. Okay, amazing. I love that. I'm so happy. Cool. All right. We got a lot to riff on today. Anyone have their gas go up 40 cents this week? Anyone else? I mean, the gas, well, I don't know. I got gas somewhere I don't normally get gas recently, so I don't actually know. I'll have to see this week. The world is separated by those that can office and those that can't. How is the starting the day with broth thing going? Good effects? Yeah, I mean, it depends on the day. I don't always do the chicken broth thing. Basically, like, increased salt has been, what is the word? Is this the word? Am I thinking of the word right? Yeah. So it's a palliative care thing that I've been doing. And it does help. Although, like, it's, the chicken broth is one thing. Sometimes I'll do like salty pickled olives or pickled cucumbers. Sometimes I literally, most of the time, this is what I'm doing recently. If you have POTS, if you have orthostatic intolerance, here's something from me to you. The salt pills make me nauseated, but if I just grab a pinch of salt out of my salt well and just put it in my mouth and then grab a swig of water and swallow the salt like it's a pill, I've been doing that like several times a day, and it does seem to be helping. Today, I feel pretty good. I'm starting to get more active, and I think that that's probably going to make the biggest difference for me, because if my heart is just stronger, then it will be more efficiently pumping blood, and that will probably help a lot. But also, compression socks. Like anytime I'm in the morning, I'm like, I'm not feeling too great. I'll put on compression socks, and it just immediately feels so much better, forcing the blood flow through my body. If you want salt, make regular ramen noodles, chicken, and better than bouillon. Chicken, the salt bomb, good stuff. So here's the problem, Atin, is I have to be careful about eating large amounts of carbs, because eating large amounts of anything, really, I probably should stop eating. I don't eat very much through the day, and then I have a really big dinner. That's the opposite of what I should be doing. But especially if I eat a large amount of carbs, digesting that takes a long time. And when you're digesting, especially a big meal, your body sends a lot of the blood to your digesting organs, which means that your blood is not pumping through your body very efficiently, which actually increases my symptoms. So I have to be careful about eating ramen. Oh, Martian Envy, I think that's great. I'm trying to get involved locally with my Food Not Bombs group, as well as starting a twice-a-year LGBTQ clothing swap. Absolutely. That's exactly the right thing to do. Getting involved in the community, dedicating your time and effort, and, just like giving of yourself to the community. Great stuff. You just make all the ramen and pitch the noodles. Sounds like a great call. We have 56 people in here. We're so close to 69 likes. Likes on the stream immediately tell YouTube to show the stream to more people. And I'm jealous of these other trans streamers who have like easily 100 or 200 people in their chats. I'm like, what are y'all doing that I'm not doing? I'm like, it's weird. It's almost like because my channel is so old, I think. Because I'm like, Riverboat Jack's account is younger than mine. She only has 11,000 subscribers, but she has like 200 people hanging out in her chat. I'm like, okay, Katie Montgomery, she's been around for a while. She's got like easily 200 people in her live chats. Like, come on. What am I doing here? What am I doing wrong? I can't just start a new channel. That would be insane. For my politics stuff anyway. It says 71 likes. Ooh, now it's showing me 73. Hell yeah, we surpassed the 69 number. Nice. Happy Ace Awareness Day. Oh, hey, I didn't know it was Ace Awareness Day. Congratulations. I'm jealous of all these trans streamers who get over 60 in their chats on YouTube alone. I know. I'm not like a small trans... I mean, I'm a small trans creator, but like... not the smallest trans creator, so there is that. You gotta be appreciative of what you have, I suppose. Yes, happy Ace Awareness Day. That's very cool. I'm happy for you guys. We also had Trans Day of Visibility, which I guess I should acknowledge in this video, because it happened last Monday. No, really? JKR came out of her moldy castle to be a bitch about ace awareness? No. Come on. The asexuals didn't do anything. That's so mean. I'm like, I get it about her fucking trans people, whatever. Like, yeah, of course that's mean and hateful, but like, why are you coming after the asexuals? They did not do anything to you, Joanne. Remember, it's a valid sexuality if a redneck wouldn't get it. Are those the only valid sexualities, the ones that rednecks don't understand? I feel like I have to write down all the awareness days and months. You don't actually have to. Oh man, I just remembered that May Day is coming up soon. Oh, it's my favorite. It's my favorite holiday. I love May Day so much. I don't want to stream, but it feels like that's the only thing I can do as an artist nowadays. I mean, you could be a TikTok person, I guess, like Instagram. I see that I follow like a lot of artists on Instagram. I see a lot of artists, even if I don't follow a lot of artists on Instagram. It's a totally different job than just making art because your job is like to photograph yourself making art in or like take video. But you know what I mean? Beltane is the best non-autumn holiday. I don't know. I think Beltane it's my favorite. Like what other holiday gives you a good excuse to make a penis-shaped bread? You know what I mean? Like oh man, maybe I should get into the fucking sourdough thing. I don't know. Pick in stream chat on the Discord. Okay, we'll see. We'll see how miserable she is. Oh my god, why? Why are you like this? Okay, so this is what Joanne is posting. Happy International Fake Oppression Day to everyone who wants complete strangers to know they don't fancy a shag. And of course, like, yeah, International Asexuality Day. Asexuality is where a person experiences little to no sexual attraction. Asexual people can form deep emotional connections and relationships, but don't experience sexual attraction in the same way as others. You know what's crazy is that she is coming hard swinging by doing that. She is swinging at so many cis women. Like, so many cis women. Honestly, calling these acephobes and transphobes weird, gross, and creepy is a good tactic. Yeah, obviously there's the angle on this that's like, why are you thinking about what other people want to do sexually? Obviously there's that. But that's not what she is thinking about, though. She's just kind of going like, oh, you're just finding a new way to make yourself feel special. It's like, is she actually asexual and about to fucking find out that, like, it's not just a normal thing for women to not want to have sex? Like, I don't know. It's so weird. I would go back to DeviantArt, but they have AI stuff there now. ArtStation is starting to pick up AI art. I know, guys. I'm so sorry. I don't have the answers for what to do as an artist. I'm not trying to be an artist, like, to make money. I just want to make art because I want to be creatively expressive, and like maybe I will occasionally sell art as it relates to my YouTube channel or like for the purposes of charity or something, like, you know, like, ooh, 50% of the proceeds on this piece I'm auctioning off are going to go to some thing. I don't know. Like, I have no idea. That's not the purpose, though. The purpose is just because I want to express myself and I want to learn art forms and make beautiful things and honor the beauty that I see around me. No shade on anyone who likes Instagram, but I'm not going to use anything Meta owns. I mean, okay, listen. I understand, I guess, but like where are you going to go, right? Like YouTube now has changed its hate speech shit so that they're not going to cover trans people, okay? Like Facebook obviously is a source of, like, and I'm saying Facebook as shorthand for like Meta. Meta, okay, there's lots of misinformation on Meta. Meta also doesn't protect trans and queer people. Twitter is a Nazi cesspool. You've got Blue Sky. Like, Blue Sky is a great place to network, but it's a fucking political platform. Maybe that's just, you know, obviously, like, that's my account. I started my account. I follow a bunch of political stuff. There are specific feeds for artists and stuff, but I don't know how well it works for you to market yourself as an artist. Instagram is very actively sharing art stuff. Like, I'm just saying, like, my experience there, especially on my recent account that I started specifically to get away from the political stuff, like Facebook and Instagram, and maybe, I guess, TikTok. I don't know about TikTok as much, but it seems like the algorithm really loves showing you the artistic process. So that's what people will sit there and watch. So, like, yeah, TikTok, I guess. if you are willing to accept that it's so volatile, like that it might just not exist next month in America. Um, like all of these platforms have their pitfalls. I mean, even Blue Sky, people think, oh, Blue Sky is great, but Blue Sky keeps deactivating the accounts of Palestinians who are using Blue Sky to try to get money for food. So, like, even Blue Sky, y'all think it's so great. Like, okay, well, but they're actively like contributing to the deaths of Palestinians by denying them the opportunity to eat. Like, they can't raise money for food. And the food that we're talking about here is like a loose grocery bag of flour that they then they have to try to use to make something for them to eat. So it's just like there's no good answer. All of these platforms are going to have negatives to them. I use Fourth Wall to host my sales for my t-shirts and everything, but even that, there's probably some unethical labor happening in the process that I just don't know about. The thing at Fourth Wall is that they try to make sure they're working with like American companies or like at least companies that aren't using exploitative labor practices, but like I don't know. I can't know. That's part of why you get fulfillment from like a bunch of different places, is because they're like working with all these different companies that are supposed to have decent labor practices. And there's that like balance of like, okay, I want you to know you're getting a good product and know that it was made with, you know, ethically, but also not like a very expensive product that you can't afford. So all of these decisions, you know, you have to like, guys, you know, I have been using ChatGPT recently, and I'm bringing this up now because it feels like something that I need to keep secret because like, okay, so what I use it for, I use ChatGPT as a supplement to what I already do when I'm trying to learn something, which is like, I go through a bunch of different a bunch of different Google links for the most part. I'm like, okay, if I want to learn something about how to optimally build an exercise routine, or like, what should I do? I'm using it to like take all of the different Google links that I would normally read and just like compile it into one. Or I'll ask it like, is there any research on this subject? Because it compiles the information, and I'm like using it in a way where it's mostly just like an elaborate Google search. And I always check, like I double check what it's saying. And I'm also interested in like what kind of answers will it spit out when you ask it certain questions. That's part of it too. Or like how to create a lesson plan, stuff that is probably kind of hard to dig through a million links for. I'm aware that ChatGPT gives false information sometimes, so that's I'm still like using it as part of a set of tools. And I'm not using it for creative writing. Sometimes I'll use it to like summarize my own work. Like I'll say, here's a script. Can you find like some good quotes in here that would work as a YouTube short or something, right? So I use it for those kind of things. I think that obviously people have a problem with AI because you're stealing whatever. Like that's why I do not like AI images. I will never be okay with AI images because that is all built on stolen work that like these artists did not consent to having the model trained on their work, right? I haven't really looked into it, but like people say like, oh, it consumes so much more water than a regular Google search or whatever. And like I get that, right? And we do want to try to reduce harmful practices, and like I'm not like an everyday ChatGPT person, you know? But like there's so many things that I do besides that, and like it's weird to me that that's the one thing that I feel like I can't talk about as like how I do my job, like a tool that I use that makes my job easier, which is like that's what AI should be for. If it's for anything, it should be making your job easier. Like, especially if it's stupid bullshit, like generating title and thumbnail ideas. But like, I also drive my car like a lot, and I plan on buying another car. We probably are going to buy a truck even. Bad for the environment. Like, I don't ride the bus, even though I could, or perhaps should. We eat meat still that we buy at the grocery store, so it's probably not sourced ethically in that way either, you know? So it's like every thing that you do has the implication of being problematic on some level. And you can be trying your best and like minimizing harm and still probably doing harm that you don't mean to be doing. If you won't use image generators because they are unethical, then you should be aware that ChatGPT is not any less unethical. I mean, so I agree for like creative writing things, but I don't know that I agree in a sense of like compiling information way, which is why I'm like I use ChatGPT in a specific way that is like I try not to do anything that it might pull from some creative work. I know that regardless of my use of it, that it still scrapes creative works. I get that. I feel like there has to be some way to like use the things that are good about AI for stupid bullshit, like just taking like some manual job and like making it automatic. Like, can you help me summarize this email? You know, I think that bullshit like that, there has to be like a way that AI can be used that isn't unethical. It just happens to be that a lot of AI is being used in an unethical way, you know? This is like everything else. It's more important to make our big employers recycle than remembering where we put our pizza box. But also, you can't recycle pizza boxes because they're greasy and they don't want that in their machines for recycling paper. Pretty much ignored ChatGPT for a while, but a few days ago I used it to help me elaborate on an idea I had and add things. It seems stupid, but that active listening and adding little things helped. Yeah, I do like that aspect of it too. The yes and that ChatGPT does is, I think, enjoyable. The basic unethical thing about it is the mass amounts of proprietary data scraped is only useful because they pay people in the global south pennies to sort it and tag it under horrific conditions. Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I also have a cell phone and a computer, which were made by forcing children to mine cobalt. You know, so like, yeah, I'm realizing that I have felt this particular thing about ChatGPT and that like I would have to make so many other lifestyle changes in order to be in congruence with my opinion about not using ChatGPT, especially like with how useful it is. Um, like yeah, if I go buy tank tops, like buy a brand new thing of tank tops from Walmart, that's also me contributing to global slave labor. It's just like one of these is not notably worse than the rest of them, if that makes any sense. I'm not defending the use of ChatGPT because I'm like, oh, like everything else is fine. I'm just saying like which things am I going to beat myself up over? You can function without AI. You probably can't function without a smartphone. Yeah, I can function. I could function. Like, I mean, I don't think that that's fair because you can do everything. Like, I could do a lot of the things that are necessary from my phone at the library on a computer. So, like, I just, I think any like of these technology things, it's like, well, you could be doing things in a way that is going to take way more time and sap your energy and take more effort. And like, yes, we can. Like, yeah, I could do that. You can't both say you barely use it and that it's so useful you can't go without it. I mean, so when I say like I don't use it that much, that's been like because I am hesitant to use it in a way that I am never hesitant to pick up my phone to just do stupid bullshit like scroll Instagram, you know? I'm just saying, like, it is useful and it makes my job easier. And it also has the potential to help me plan broader things and, like, help me identify lesson plans and things for my sibling. I need the identification app on my phone to access healthcare for me and my kids, so I absolutely can't live without my phone. But Max, you could just have a piece of paper and like confirm it manually. Like I'm like you literally could do all of these things. Like if we're gonna like we can go there. Like yeah, okay, you need your phone to access this thing because some system is established, but we could do that in a different way. And like, yes, I could spend the time and energy like summarizing the video, identifying key points, coming up with title and thumbnails ideas. Like, yeah, I could do all of that and do a bad job probably because I can't pay someone to do it. Whereas like a word generator is able to regurgitate my ideas back at me in a way that makes my job just like faster. If you use a search engine, you're using AI whether you want to or not. It's inescapable at the moment. Yeah, sure. I think that's... I don't know that that's a point in... Like, I don't know if that's, like, a way to say, like, yeah, it's fine to use this just because it's everywhere. Because obviously, like, that could fall into, like, an argument ad populum. But rather that, like, we can't beat ourselves up for using it because it's everywhere. The unethical elements of AI have been enabled by the system we live in. I agree with limiting uses of it, but it's a little weird to me to bring it back to the personal level from the systemic one. Yeah. And like, yeah, it's like, why do I feel more guilty about this thing than I do about any of the other things that I do that are also harmful? Like driving my car, right? Like those are just like the personal reflections that I'm making. Like, why do I feel guilty about using AI when I don't feel bad about these other things? I think adding the minus AI gets rid of it. There was some special code, and I can't remember what it was, but there was some special code that you can type in during a Google search for it to not show up the AI thing automatically at the top. It's like feeling guilty about driving a car when private jets exist. Yeah. Which I don't think that we should necessarily say, like, I absolve myself from any and all complicity in this. But that it's like, we have to take a measured approach. If that makes sense. Can we still get our cars' engines converted to run on secondhand restaurant cooking oil? Yeah, I actually was just researching into that a little bit, and I mean, it's kind of difficult to convert an engine over to ethanol, and like also you'll be getting way fewer miles per gallon on the ethanol engine. It might be better in a long-term sense to get an electric car or maybe an E85 flex fuel car, and then just like a hybrid car especially, you know, you could kick it off with ethanol or something, but then if you have a solar system set up, then you can charge it off of solar. And that, like, you know, obviously the batteries are like harmful in the short term, and like if they're thrown away in the wrong way, they're harmful to the environment. But if you're just like, how do we still move around in the case of like an apocalypse, I think converting the car engine to ethanol is like maybe not necessarily the way to go. But you know, either way, we're gonna have to all come up with all sorts of different solutions to these problems. Google fixed that AI workaround. No. It's hard to get E85 fuel where I live. They purged all the gas stations to offer ethanol free. Ew. No, you're good, Max. It's all good. I appreciate your willingness to challenge my assumptions. I think that that's important to have in your life. You could convert a car to run off a wood burner. I mean, not very efficient. Forward conversations about AI are going to center around responsible use and trying to learn how to work around it rather than outright limiting it. Yeah, I don't like that that's our future, but here we go. Right. It's very much here to stay so long as technology still exists in its current iteration. Like AI, for better or worse, and often for worse, is definitely here to stay. Oh, did I not? I don't think I added this to my notes. Did I miss one? I did. I missed one. Here we go. Okay, there we go. Make sure my notes are comprehensive for today. Just waiting for leaded gasoline to make a return. Oh my god, true. AI is clearly being used as the next big widget, regardless of the applicability to the situation it's being applied to. Yeah, I definitely think it does not need to be ubiquitous. Like, you don't need a little thing to come up at the top of the fucking Facebook comments summarizing the mood of the Facebook comments. And then like on Amazon too, when you've got an Amazon like purchase that you're trying to make, and it'll tell you like, here's what people are saying in the comments. And like sometimes that can be useful, but oftentimes I'm like, they're like, and people talk about the fit. And I'm like, well, what do they say about the fit? Does it often fit correctly, or does it often fit too small or too big? Tell me what they're saying specifically about the fit. So, sometimes it's like, I mean, it's just like a language model. It does not necessarily have the ability to identify the important details yet. That's like a thing that it is still learning how to do. I'm not going to use it until I'm forced to, probably by some boss in a future job or something. Yeah, totally. Yeah, for sure. Also, AI was almost certainly used to generate the tariff rates, and Elon is trying to use it to rewrite existing code for stuff. That's a use that my partner found for it, was like he was like trying to program a tiny handheld thing that he was making. He's into electronics and like retro video games and stuff, so he was like making a little like video game thing. And he was using ChatGPT to help him write the code. And it would spit out some code, and he would put it in the machine, and he would say, well, that caused it to do this, but I want it to do this. And then it would spit him out like a different set of code. So it seems to work for that. I worked for an environmental institute a while back, and we had one biodiesel truck. We processed the oil on site. Eventually, we abandoned it because it was more costly and wasteful to collect and process the oil we were given. Totally. Yeah. It's not the most efficient, right? But that's often the case. When we're trying to find alternatives, we're trying to, we have to experiment a little bit. We have to try things that don't work, or we have to refine things. And like, we probably should have a system that's more like, it doesn't matter how much this costs because the cost to our environment is more dramatic. I had loose leaf tea. Num 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 num. You get to the bottom of the tea and it's like, hello, would you like leaf in your mouth? Like, no, I do not want leaf in my mouth. That is not what I want at the moment. I don't know how to drink the rest of this tea without getting leaf in my mouth. Okay, I successfully got more tea without getting leaf in my mouth. I still have 2 more steeps in this tea, which I might do one. I don't know, I might even do one before stream ends. There will be a lot of cheap swastika parts for people to do e-swaps with, perhaps. People are also increasingly struggling with the ability to read long form and retain information because of lack of engagement and time and energy to do so. Yeah, I do think for sure there are certain things that I like. So when I say like I will use ChatGPT to kind of like help me combine information together, I still do want to spend some amount of time like searching for that information. Like, for example, I used ChatGPT recently to help me figure out a workout over the course of the week. And, you know, I would like double check things and I would be like, okay, actually, that's way too many exercises for one exercise routine. Can you be more specific? Like, this is going to happen on this day and this is going to happen on this day kind of thing. Because I do still think it's important to be like, I need to go research it. I need to go weigh for myself what is true or not. And anytime you use AI, you have to double check what it's saying, basically. So, yeah, I also sometimes will not use Google Maps because I want to make sure that my brain can still do things like look at landmarks and things. Like, if I'm focused on what the phone is telling me, I am not giving as much attention to what the landmarks are or like what the names of the streets are necessarily. So yeah, I do think there's some stuff that you need to keep working your brain. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. The buses around here run on biogas from mandatory composting that all goes to a biogas plant. Like all solutions, they are collective, not individual. Love that. I love that you guys have that over there. This is also kind of why mass deportations weren't done before, because it's costly. It's way cheaper to just do amnesty. Also way more humane to not do deportations, but that's another road that would make a mainstream Democrat's head explode. Yeah, I do think that a lot of these things, you can just make the economic argument for why deportation is bad. Deportation is bad because it costs like $80,000 per person to deport them or some fucking crazy shit like that. I don't actually remember what the dollar was, but it was like, yeah, it costs more than $10,000 just to deport this person. Or you could just give them a green card or whatever. Like, you could just give them citizenship, and instead you would be collecting taxes from that person for the rest of their life. Like, I don't know. I know a girl who asked ChatGPT to make a workout routine for her, and IMO, it's not great, but spending more time correcting things I think absolutely helps. Yeah, no, I did. I refined and I asked it things like, hey, there's a lot of push exercises for the shoulders. Is there something I can do to like make that more balanced? And then I learned about face pulls. And Fen, I did not know about face pulls. So that's like, I was like, oh shit, that's a whole new kind of exercise that I haven't ever seen anyone mention in any of the like workout, you know, like it's kind of predatory, the market around health, whatever aspect of that is. Like, whether it's skincare, whether it's exercise, whether it's diet, like all of these markets are very predatory and they are packaged in a very certain way. So like, if you're looking up how to do shoulder exercises, it's mostly a bunch of things catered to men who want their shoulders to be bigger. But I learned about face pulls so that I can maintain my shoulder health in a way that I wouldn't be if I was just doing presses and pushes like all the fucking time. So definitely useful. What is a face pull? A face pull is a shoulder exercise where, um, there's like the machine that you can adjust it to where the thing can be like up here, and like there are pieces of rope. You got the two pieces of rope, and then you can pull on it, right? And most of the time, what I used to do is I would do triceps. I would grab the two ropes and I would like push down, like pull down, which is a tricep exercise. But you can grab them this way, and you start with your arms out in front of you, and you pull toward your face, rotate it up and out, and end back here with your elbows pulled back, and then you bring it back in, and that's the exercise where you're pulling toward your face, and it is supposed to help with your shoulders. It creates balance. It's not like literally working your shoulders, but it helps balance it out, because when you're doing pushes and presses and stuff, it just tends to pull your shoulders forward. So you're doing an exercise that is like working the shoulder cuff, like the rotation. Yeah, ideally you do a bit of both. That's exactly my point, Fen, is like shoulder exercises, typically when you're trying to read about it, it tells you like here's a bunch of very specific things, and it doesn't include necessarily like a fully rounded exercise. She does it with the resistance bands. Me too. Yeah. I just put it around like the clothing rack bar thing in my closet, and I just pulled toward my face. Even when you skip due process, you have to pay ICE agents for their time, pay for the planes. Yeah, the fuel in the planes. Yeah, it's not cheap. Specific info works when you have base knowledge, and that's something many people assume. Yep, you have to have that base knowledge in order to elaborate on things. Well, I'm kind of thinking about making myself a tea and then coming back and getting into the segment for today, like the news segment for today. Hashtag news segment for today. My hair does not look good right now. Oh well. I've just got this like bumpy part over here that I can't get to lie down. I also need to cut the sides of my hair. It's overdue. I was supposed to do it last week. People go back exercises and I'm like, what part of the back, bro? Yeah, I need to like learn what are upper back exercises, because I think every time I do back exercises, I mostly do the mid back. I'm like working on my lats or something. Whereas I probably need to do morning glories. I need to work on my lower back. But and then I'm like, what even is an upper back exercise? I guess kind of you're working your upper back when you're doing like a overhead press, or like I guess you could call it shoulder press. Also, I do it with my resistance bands. I stand on the resistance band and then I push up. And like I guess that kind of works your traps. Like that's what upper back means, is works like your upper trapezius. I don't know. The mass deportations would not have happened without skipping the legal process. People would have been much less likely to have been deported illegally if they had been allowed legal representation. I mean, yeah, of course, that's why they are not allowing them representation, And they're flexing on everybody that like, yo, we've just decided that we can deny you equal representation. To work your trapezius, you need to pull. Yeah, but like which one? I don't know. This is why I need a PT. I don't actually need a PT, probably. Little personal trainer. Okay, I am going to update the stream goal, because we got $110 in donations today. But if you guys want me to take off my shirt and flex again, like hell, maybe I'll even take off my shirt this time and flex in just my sports bra or whatever. Maybe I'll try to show off my back, except that I think I have a lot of acne right now, so maybe I won't do that, but whatever. Okay, yeah. Post in the fitness section of the Discord for sure, Fen. I will read it. Okay, oh no, where'd he go? I think I'm gonna put on a little bit of Jazz Dog and make myself tea, make myself another glass of tea, and you guys can get cozy and wait for me to do the news, which we are going to do the news, but I want to, make myself another glass of tea. So I'm gonna actually probably do the boiling the tea part and then come back and then go get my tea in the 5 minutes. But yeah, I'll be back in a minute. Well, this is not going to take me very long. I'm not going to put the music on. I'll be right back because I'm just going to put the water on to boil real quick. Okay, I'll take a proper break in a minute. I'll take like a proper 5-minute break for the steeping time of the tea. After the water boils, you can lift dumbbells directly upwards to work your traps, or attach the resistance band to the top of a door and pull down. Are you talking about shrugs? Shrugs? People do a wider grip for upper back. Yeah. The whole pulling back the shoulder blades on the first part of the pull is upper back. Okay, so I do work the shoulders because that's the thing that I focus on when I'm doing a row, especially. I'm like, it's all about the shoulders, like the shoulder blades. Okay, so I'm doing just fine. I'm doing fine. I was kicked out for some reason. Kicked out what? On the website? Sometimes it just resets. I'm trying to lose muscle in my transition. I have plenty to spare. You can have them. Yeah, I know. Everybody's got their own goals. Everybody's always got something that somebody else wants. I like this channel because not much about religion and politics. They bring out the worst in me. This is so refreshing. We definitely do still talk politics, and we will. I am planning on talking about politics today, but I can't do it all the time. I can't do all day every day. So I'm glad that you appreciate it. I think fitness is overcomplicated as a whole. Just do a good heavy pull down and pull from the front with ample range of motion. You'll work everything in the back. For shoulders, try to work all heads. Yeah, I'm still working on the learning what it means to work all of the heads of the shoulders, but I tried to do a regular lifting weights exercise a couple weeks ago, and it knocked me fucking out the following day. So I was like, oh, okay, I need to ease back into this a little bit, or maybe modify some of these exercises so that I can do them on the floor instead of standing. I was very physical yesterday, which is part of why I'm so tired today, but I feel way better today than I was expecting to. So I'm hoping that I can get back into that exercise routine that I just started, a plan. And I was even like, okay, I'm only going to do this for 4 weeks, because I was reading that you are supposed to rotate out exercises every few weeks, which is also part of why I kept running into plateaus before, because I would do the same thing for 4 months. Excuse me. Oh, Holly, that's so funny. Holly says, I feel like resistance training should be a first step for being non-cis. Obviously for people assigned female, arm building, but also AMAB butt building. Oh, Xena, I don't know why, but the YouTube thing does not allow people to post links. I'm not sure why. Yes, but anyway, yeah. So for trans men, if you're trying to masculinize your appearance, the things that I would say is work the shoulders, work the chest, because then your chest will look bigger up here and it can make your boobs seem smaller. Um, and obviously you can do some ab work to like trim out the muscles on your sides. But then for trans women, like genuinely, it would be a good idea for you to do squats and stuff because that will make your ass bigger. Fen confirms your butt needs serious weight to grow. Be safe, obviously, but deadlifts and squatting heavy and hip thrusts do a lot. Yeah. I need to start doing, I think, adduction and abduction for my legs because, like, I don't think I've ever done anything with that in my entire weightlifting career, which I know that obviously that's not really weightlifting. It's more like resistance bands, but you know what I mean? Bench press to masculinize yourself fast. True. Lots and lots of flies and push-ups in my future. Hell yeah. I think the water is almost ready to boil, which means I'm going to take a short little break. Be very careful with deadlifts. I've injured my lower back with that before. Me too. I don't want to do deadlifts. I have no desire to do deadlifts. I don't think that anything in my body or my routine or my lifestyle requires me to do deadlifts. I will do morning glories, but I don't need to do deadlifts. That's fucking crazy. Why would anybody do that? I don't need to do deadlifts. Beware that the greatest threat to a great ass is stress. Cortisol wreaks havoc on the glutes. I don't actually know if that's true, but I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to take 5. I'm going to rest my voice. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the news. We're going to get those I found alternatives. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we're going to play. Now it's time for Jazz Dog, and I will come back in a few, and then we'll start on the news. All right? Thank you. Toodles. Hold on. Ah. Okay, this song is 4 minutes long, so we're not going to listen to the whole thing because I'm back now. Hello. Now I have my tea. Tea, 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 tea. It is time for tea. This is all original music. I'm glad that you're finding some similarities to some very famous stuff, but to be clear, Jazz Dog's music is all orig. Mm. Mm. Delicious. The last song sounded like Doom to me. Yeah. Again, props and shout outs to Jazz Dog for being a very talented music guy. It's literally almost my tea time for the afternoon. We tried to talk about tea, but the learning curve was too steep for me. That's good. I appreciate that. I just did my second round of the blooming tea. I probably didn't appreciate it as much as the first time I did the blooming tea. I'll do the last one after stream and I'll really appreciate it more. Okay. Let's start getting in the zone. Let's start mentally preparing to dive deep into the news for probably longer than an hour, because that's what tends to happen for me here. Quail. I've never had quail eggs. I should try them, though. I don't know how you usually cook a quail egg. I feel like every time I see them on Mythical Kitchen, they're like soft boiled or something. Because he's like, oh, they pop like a gusher. So it's like, okay, it's a soft boiled egg. But I'm not eating soft boiled eggs right now because of bird flu. So I don't know. Yeah, ouch, news. I know. I'm so sorry. That's what Sundays are for. Sundays are for news. So sad. We lost some people during the intermission. That happens sometimes. Ooh, gotta drink the tea. Tea time. Yummy, yummy. Oh yeah, I did put a little bit more honey in it this time. That's delicious. Yum, yum, yum. Becoming a tea person suddenly in my 30s. Wonderful. The changes we go through. They're just like chicken eggs, but smaller. Yeah, but I mean, like, how are they usually prepared? I know that they're just like chicken eggs, but smaller. Like, they taste a little bit different, I'm assuming, because duck eggs taste a little bit different. Time for news. Applies Joker makeup. Yeah, I've never been a big makeup person, but I have considered it for the purposes of the streams, like for evening out my skin tone or for a particular aesthetic. I don't know. I'm the world's laziest goth, you guys. Like, I am in spirit, like goth slash emo or whatever, but I overheat very easily and I do not know how to put on makeup. Excuse me. Nice. Ooh, Droning Goddess, during our intermission, put all the pork bones and aromatics in the pressure cooker. Oh, that sounds delicious. Whatever you're doing sounds so good. I need to get like a giant stock pot. I'm actually considering going to the Asian market this week and getting myself like the big stock pot that I want so that I can resume my habit of buying whole chickens and then making soup. I did my nails and bleached my hair last night. Girl. I've been thinking about painting my nails. I haven't done it in a while. Indeed. Anyway, so let's get ready here. Seeing your tea made me want to add soy milk to mine, so I did. I've been doing whole milk in my tea because I recently tried to make tea with soy milk, but the water was, like, the tea was still too hot, so the soy milk immediately split, and it was disgusting. At last gothdom when I lost any source of income. Fucking true. so pleased with that. It's time for our weekly news segment show where I cover all of the important news that you needed from last week. We try to compile things here. I start out with challenging / negative news, and then our last part of the show will be positive news. I try to keep things balanced between those two, but you can always check the chapters if you want to navigate to any one particular story. And as always, there will be links down there in the description if you want to read more about anything that we talk about today. Yeah, no, soy milk is not good. When it separates, it's split, and I was like, bleh, like the texture was not good. It was not good. Oat milk is the best milk alternative to use as creamer. It's creamy, but there's not much nutritional substance to oat milk, which is why I buy soy milk as my milk alternative for when I want to make chocolate milk and stuff like that. Any National Park Workers news? I did not include any today, which is not to say that there isn't any, but I just didn't include any today. And don't forget, we also include calls to action in this show. So we will have a directive for you, at least one toward the end, something that you can go do with your time and with all that energy that you have after hearing about all this crazy news. I've gone back to skimmed milk since it still has a high protein content. I mean, soy milk has a decent protein content. Oh, God. Okay. The first thing that I have on my docket for today is kind of two stories in one, I guess. There's this new page, womenshealth.gov, where they have this thing. It's like, oh, it's about protecting women and children. Now, what it actually is, oh, wait, did that link get broken? That was a video with Riley Gaines earlier. Where is it? Oh, I wonder if this video came down. Nope, there it is. Okay. So it's protecting women and children. And the very first thing on this page is Riley Gaines on keeping men out of women's sports. This is the official government website, womenshealth.gov in the United States. Defending women, this requires federal agencies to recognize only two sexes, male and female, defined by the biological production of producing eggs or sperm, directs agencies to update policies, official documents. I think this is kind of like the hub for the executive orders that he's been putting out. Yeah, defending women from gender ideology extremism and restoring biological truth to the federal government. And, oh, nope, that's not right. Hold on. And then it goes on about protecting children. Oh, we got to end the chemical and surgical mutilation of children, keeping men out of women's sports, sex-based definitions, participate in advancing women's health research, which has, it's like, okay, but also you guys are trying to cut, like, healthcare access? Crazy. Yeah, my feel when the anti-intellectual fascists are anti-intellectuals. Shakachu. The female athlete triad in sports. I don't know what that means. Women's health research. So this obviously is like dumb. But they're just putting together, like, in the midst of taking away all of the pro-trans or at least trans-aware stuff on all these government websites, they're now taking this, like, official anti-trans stance and, of course, couching it as this, like, oh, we're protecting women and children thing. And this is also tied in with this, like, I think that, no, this is not what I am thinking of. I don't know that I have it pulled up right this second, but he also declared April National Child Abuse Prevention Month, which, to be clear, this is just anti-trans. This is not anything to do with, like, meaningful child abuse as we would understand it. This is just about trans people. So in this brief proclamation, one of the only examples of child abuse cited in it is the sinister threat of gender ideology. Like, okay, this is the whole thing. National Adult Child Abuse Prevention Month 2025. Like, oh, they're the foundation of our families. We need to protect them from abusers, predators, and evildoers threatening the health and safety of our children. And like, also, you're the one who put like a fucking moron in charge of the Health and Human Services Department, and so like children are dying from measles under your watch. Meanwhile, you're saying we're trying to prevent harm. Cute. Subtle dig at gay marriage in here. The most powerful safeguard against child abuse is a stable family with loving parents, and that there is no substitute for a strong mother and father. So that is subtly anti-gay. Sadly, one of the most prevalent forms of child abuse facing our country today is the sinister threat of gender ideology. Proponents of the gender ideology movement are outrageously indoctrinating our children with the devastating lie that they are trapped in the wrong body, and that the only way they can be truly happy is to alter their sex with hormone therapy, puberty blockers, and sexual mutilation surgery. Evil and backwards lies of gender insanity. So, like, that is the whole fucking thing. Is we're and like he's referencing another executive order prohibiting public schools from indoctrinating children with gender ideology, and reducing funding to any institution that supports trans youth medically. Yeah, so it's pretty much, again, like that's the whole fucking thing. The whole fucking thing is just, we're gonna declare, it's kind of like what they did in Texas with declaring that gender affirming care with children is child abuse as a way of getting around the fact that they couldn't pass the law to legislate this, to limit this through the legislative process. So instead, they're just declaring that it's child abuse. Same thing they're doing here now on the federal level. Yes, meanwhile, Texas has just stopped tracking maternal mortality since banning abortion, and looks like the CDC will now too. Yeah, I think that there was a recent thing that came up where someone was asking Texas legislature, like, yo, will you guys change this law maybe because it's associated with a marked increase in mother and infant mortality? And they're like, nope, we don't plan on doing that. Byron says JD Vance feels like the sort of person that would argue it's more abusive to not beat your kids when they misbehave. Like, oh, isn't it more abusive to let them grow up acting like that? Like, calm down, dude. Jesus. So, I mean, this is not surprising. I want to be clear. This is not terribly surprising. It's just like, okay, we're seeing it in a much more official capacity. Repeated things and like couching it as this protecting women and children thing. And that's not holding up in a lot of places. I don't really plan to discuss it today because I am not necessarily discussing individual state laws passing in the same way that I used to. But, you know, Montana just passed an anti-trans bathroom bill, despite the fact that S.J. Howell and Zoe Zephyr speak so passionately in favor of trans rights. This law passed and the governor signed it, and then the courts have almost immediately been like, no, this is motivated by clear animus. So I guess the one good thing about dumb shit like this is that it creates more and more and more evidence, I guess, for that animus argument. The idea that they're just doing this because they hate trans people, because they have failed to produce sufficient evidence that any of these changes are actually protecting women's rights. In the particular case of the Montana bathroom bill, that was the ostensible thing, was like, this is to safeguard women. But yeah, so just bringing to your attention, this is an important, very official step that they're making. Many people are like, this is very similar to things that were going on at the end of the Weimar Republic as the Nazi Party was coming into power. This is all fitting into a greater context, and the goal basically here is to strip trans people from all protections. Also trying to say, like, there is no such thing as a trans person. Therefore, any actions taken against trans people are just reinforcing a quote unquote natural and biological reality. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, it's fascism. You know, it's scary. I'm not going to get too hung up on this particular thing today. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. womenshealth.gov/protecting women and children. And that is kind of a hub if you want to read any of these specific executive orders. It kind of seems like it's mostly a hub for those things. Yeah, okay. Anything on that we need to go into, or are we pretty much done? Do I need to say why it's bad, or, why give us protections only to take it away? I mean, this is the problem with living in America, is that your rights are contingent in a lot of ways on who happens to be president right now, or who happened to be president over the last 2 decades to appoint the judges that are going to decide whether this stuff is constitutional or not. We are not good at passing laws to enshrine rights in this country. Like the way that the Congress is set up with all the gerrymandering and the rewriting of districts and all this bullshit, we are so rarely able to pass meaningful civil rights protections through the legislative process, and therefore we become reliant on the court's interpretations to protect us, and then another court can just come by and say, nope, we don't think that women have the right to abortion, actually, turns out. To be anti-trans is to be anti-intellectual. It's a little weird, but I guess not surprising that when research affirms the validity of trans people, that research in turn gets defunded, erased, or deemed ideologically driven. Yeah, and I think that there was... I didn't look into this deeply, so maybe this is something that I should cover next week, that I think that Trump said, yo, we want to do research into how harmful trans ideology is. Yeah, so I will go ahead and include this in the segment because it's relevant to this conversation and important, and I want to keep the link as well. Because Trump has directed the NIH to study regret after transgender people transition. So he's canceled nearly all NIH projects studying trans health. And now Trump's team is instructing the biomedical agency to study negative consequences of transitioning. So of course, that they just want to study things with a particular lens of we've already decided that trans healthcare is harmful, and we are going to pay someone to figure out a way to justify that conclusion, essentially. Yeah, the scientific basis for oppression is what they're trying to do, which is why, we've had a repeat conversation on the Transatlantic Call-In Show. I don't really shout it out in these videos that much, but I do a call-in show every Thursday. I'm not there every Thursday, but I do a call-in show, and I'm there most Thursdays on the Q&A Line YouTube channel, and we take calls. And one of the calls that we've had recently is somebody asking, or trying to suggest that the biological definition of transness, we should be pushing that this is a biological thing, that it's medically necessary. And my opinion is that is a very weak argument, because they don't care about science. They have proven over and over, they will take advantage of the fact that we care about science and say, oh, well, here's my study. Let me gesture at a study, even though it might have its own ideological bent, or maybe it's not in line with the rest of the research, or it had a flawed methodology or something, because they don't actually care about that. And when we present evidence and we say, well, the overwhelming body of evidence supports trans people, they just go well, that's ideologically motivated, and I don't care what that person says. So it's not a strong argument. My opinion here, and from what I've seen bear out, it's a much stronger argument to say, this is America. I own my body. I should be allowed to do what I want. I should be allowed to make decisions for my own children. That's between me and my doctor. I just think that it's so much of a stronger argument, because then the opposition has to say, well, I think you shouldn't have the right to do what you want with your own body. And I think you shouldn't have the right to make healthcare decisions for your own children. And then they reveal that they are actually the party of trying to get government into every part of your life instead of allegedly the party of small government. Like, those conservative values can be useful when we're talking about how to access our rights. So, like, I personally, I think that going the transmedicalist route and trying to say trans is a biological thing, while I do believe that it is, I don't think that's a very strong argument. My cat's trying to have a hairball right now. Yeah, rooting it in anything but freedom just invites them to ignore and misinterpret the facts. Yes, because facts are not relevant here. That's not what they care about. They will pretend to care about it, and they just don't. Yeah, they don't care about truth. They don't care about facts. They don't care about scientific consensus. They don't care about the scientific method. They don't care about these things. So we should change our tactics. And I'm talking about this for normies too. Like, I don't even think that normies, like, let's say just like a generally progressive person, the kind of person who might be receptive to the idea that trans people deserve to make their own healthcare decisions, but that they maybe feel weird about having trans women play women's sports, right? This is kind of a representation of like an average voter, an average person who's like, I don't really know that much about this, blah, blah, blah. That person, you might be able to reach them on a like, let's look at the science level of this, maybe. If they're like, well, trans women have been able to participate at the Olympic level for years and nobody is pretending to be trans. Trans women aren't winning overwhelmingly. If they win sometimes, that should be okay because women should be able to win sometimes. Like, and it doesn't matter what kind of woman they are, whatever. Those people might be reachable in that way. But you could also just say, like, we have the right to participate in society. Like, that could be a stronger argument in some situations. So yeah, anyway, that's pretty much the end of that. I just want to say, focus on we deserve the right to make decisions for our own bodies, and we don't actually harm anyone, and we're not participating unfairly. Those are the kinds of things that I think we should focus on. Rather than getting bogged down on the biological whatever bullshit. It can be useful sometimes, again, and you will see me arguing those things on Takis because it's informative in that context. But don't get stuck on it. Okay, let me drink some more tea. Oh my god, tea is so good. Are you done having a hairball all over my floor? Hi. He's way over there. He's like, if I'm way over here, you won't pick me up. Okay, really quick, before we move to our next story, hit the like button. Super quick, super easy, super free. Very much an immediate benefit to the episode. So thank you for that. Our next story that I want to talk about today is an arrest. We've been talking about this bathroom issue for a couple weeks. There was a cisgender woman who had the cops called on her in a Walmart for allegedly using the wrong bathroom, but she was literally a female who was trying to put a tampon in her body when the male police entered the restroom. Then there was another issue where like a non-trans woman who worked at the Walmart was accused of being trans, and then she got fired even though she was being bothered by someone else. Now we are seeing a trans person be actually affected by these laws. I think most of the time, like, we just use the restroom and people can't tell. But this woman kind of created a political moment for herself. So this one's in Florida. I don't think that anybody is particularly surprised that the story would be coming out of Florida. But this young woman named, I think her name is Marcy, she has provided her picture to Aaron in the morning. She was arrested and sent to men's jail for entering the restroom at the Florida Capitol. She is a student, college student. Her name is Marcy. She does not live in Florida, but she had her spring break trip to her grandparents' place in Florida. She refers to Florida as like a second home. And she wrote this whole long letter directing it to the people at the Capitol building saying like, hey, my name is Marcy. I'm a college student. I'm writing this letter to tell you that I am going to break the law. And she gives them a time and date that she is saying, I intend to use the women's bathroom on the second floor of the Capitol building. I know that as a transgender woman, this means I will probably be arrested. I am violating this law because I personally believe it to be wrong. I don't work for or am not associated with any major political or media organizations. I'm not a political activist. I'm not an influencer. I'm just a normal college student who thinks this law is wrong. This part I think is a little silly because you have now made yourself a political activist. I think what she means is like, I think political activist has this kind of undercurrent of like this connotation that you're annoying. And so she's trying to distance herself from the idea of being annoying, but she has made, that you are now a political act, like you've just done political activism. So that is what you are now. Interesting that she does not think of herself that way though. Part of the reason she does not think of herself that way, I believe also is because she describes herself as moderately conservative. So this is the kind of person who went in here was like, she's 20 years old. She obviously, she's, I think like transitioned fairly young just based on her appearance. And yeah, she says she's moderately conservative. She's also Catholic. So she's very much coming from this, you know, centrist space is kind of how she describes herself, which is weird to describe being, it's like you're a conservative Catholic. That's not centrism, babe. Anyway. She continues saying, this is a photo of me to identify me if you wish to arrest me. I understand that I could go to jail for up to 60 days in a men's prison, where if the statistics are true, I would likely be raped. Going to jail would uproot my life and give me a criminal record. I understand that if you're receiving this letter, you're part of a Florida bicameral legislature, which means you're probably one of the people who wrote this law or voted for it. I know that you know in your heart that this law is wrong and unjust. I know that you know in your heart that it's wrong to arrest me and jail me for 60 days for simply using the bathroom. I know that you know in your heart that transgender people are human too, and that you can't arrest us away. I know that you know in your heart that transgender people are no different from you or anyone else. I know that you know in your heart that the same people that go to church with you, eat in the same restaurants, go to the same schools, root for the same sports teams, watch the same movies, and pray to the same God as you cannot be all bad. I know that you know that I have dignity. That's why I know that you won't arrest me. Now, she genuinely did not think she was going to get arrested. That's what happened here. She genuinely thought by sending this letter that they would just like not arrest her and then change the law. This is like what it is when you grow up conservative and you think I'm white and nobody's going to hurt me or arrest me or whatever. But that is what went down. She got arrested. She was like, hey, this is where I'm going to be. She did not do this in connection with any organization either, which is like, I mean, you know, I almost want to say that it's like a stupid and brave kind of combination, but like, I don't actually know how brave it was if she just genuinely didn't think that there were going to be consequences. Yeah, centrist almost always means right wing, but polite about it. So you have to be nice to me. True. So this law passed in 2023. We talked about it when it passed, I'm almost certain. And this is the first arrest that we know of that has happened under this law, like the first time a trans woman has been jailed for this, she only washed her hands also. She walked into the restroom and washed her hands. She was then arrested on a trespassing charge. Cuz yeah, it's like criminal trespassing is the law that they passed in particular. It's not a sex crime, it's a trespassing charge. Apparently, the officers initially told her that they would issue her a notice to appear in front of a judge, which would avoid her being sent to jail, but they just ended up arresting her anyway. That's why you'd never trust cops. Cops be lying. Trespass charge is a second-degree misdemeanor punishable by up to 60 days in jail. Yes, so she describes herself as moderate conservative. She was released from jail on pretrial release about 24 hours later. She said she regrets her experience and didn't think she'd actually be arrested. Now she's back at school and she has to find a way to fly back to Florida for further hearings. Because, yeah, spring break was like a week or two at this point. She says, everything that is politics seems very abstract and philosophical from far away. This is the first time it's really affected me. I got arrested and I got sent to jail because of Governor DeSantis' practices. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. Again, girl, why? I don't know what you thought was going to happen. I genuinely, I think that she was just, appealing to these people's humanity, which they do not have, to be clear. A reporter from the Tampa Bay Times accompanied her. So several officers were stationed outside the women's restroom waiting for her. They warned her not to enter the restroom. She was wearing a white frilly dress and a pink bow, went in and washed her hands. She also is a devout Catholic and said that she wanted to take a moment to pray the rosary, but she didn't get the chance. She was in the restroom for less than 60 seconds, charged with trespassing, and her rosary was confiscated, which just seems kind of mean on top of everything else. They handcuffed and detained her, searched her person and her vehicle. I don't see why that was fucking necessary. I would be super pissed if you, took me using the restroom as an opportunity to then, that's not just cause to search my vehicle and find out if I'm doing something else. Fuck you, dude. Are you serious? Anyway, they shuttled her to the Leon County, I don't know, detention facility where she stayed overnight in the men's ward. And if convicted, she could spend up to 60 days incarcerated. I mean, she broke the law knowingly, so I do not think that there's any way around her being incarcerated for 60 days. I guess up to 60 days. But, she knew the law. She intentionally broke it. She announced beforehand that she was going to break it. She sent 160 copies of that letter to Florida lawmakers, announcing that she would be engaging in the time-honored practice of civil disobedience. She also reiterates to Aaron in the morning, saying, I am not a political activist. I'm just a normal college student who thinks this law is wrong. Yeah, again, that is, yeah, I don't know. That's political activism, babe. She might have been dumb enough to give them permission to search her vehicle, just saying, yeah, no, she does not seem especially smart. She views these risks in a very abstract way. She's saying, I know I could go to jail for up to 60 days and I might be raped there. But, she doesn't seem to actually think that that's a possibility. She's in the abstract, this might happen, but not to me, actually. I'll be real that this is massively reckless without having a lot of chances outside of media to do much. Taking an action like this is not worth, I feel awful for what she may be dealing with. Yeah, I hope that some organization can represent her because, I mean, I really wish that she had contacted someone and, had legal representation, waiting for her. Okay, she says, I don't want attention. I just want people to see this law and how crazy it is to put people like us in jail. I was so terrified. She admits she hadn't consulted legal or advocacy organizations before the endeavor. She didn't know what to expect. She says, they were treating me like I murdered someone, but I just used the wrong bathroom. She was motivated to act after seeing Hunter Schafer talk about her passport. And I guess just to, Aaron includes this at the end, and I think, it's a good ad. John Harris Moore, the public policy director of Equality Florida, said, weaponizing bathroom access in a place like the state capitol is an anti-democratic effort to block them from directly participating in government while simultaneously stripping their rights behind closed doors. Yeah, I mean, it's like you can't be anywhere for longer than a couple hours if you're not allowed to use the restroom. Yes, this girl did not know what she was getting into. So, I mean, I want to be like, yo, this is brave of her, and like, I appreciate the youth on this. I, again, wish that she had been a little bit smarter about it. She has also said on Blue Sky, I saw her posting that she doesn't identify as conservative as much now that she's been in jail. It's like, yeah, dude, I don't think there's anything more radicalizing than going to jail. Are you fucking serious right now? Of course, it's really hard to hold to conservative values when those systems like fucking throw you in a men's prison. Like, good luck. Yeah, I will say it was a bold move. I agree with you, Mabs. Yeah, it was a bold move, if nothing else. Droning Goddess says, there's this thing where white trans women who grew up not thinking of themselves as a minority suddenly find themselves being treated like a minority and are just totally shocked and surprised by it. Yeah. When white women are like, oh no, this is going to harm me. This is kind of what we frequently see with the leopards eating faces party. Like, I think that kind of started with the idea of women voting for the Republican Party. Oh no, I never realized that they were going to eat my face. Like, yeah, you goober. The fuck did you think was going to happen? I'm cussing too much in this video. I got to reel it back. I got to pull it back on that. Yeah, so be prepared if you do any civil disobedience to get arrested, by the way. Have a lawyer ready beforehand. Okay, I have this other link I need to add to my stream notes. Oh, where's my stream notes? Come back. Stream notes, come back. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. Come back, chat. I miss you. Come back. Yeah, not to mention her whole likely trusting the cops thing because of her conservative beliefs. True. Okay. Now my face is all red. I just rubbed my face and now it's all red. I gotta wait for it to chill out before I continue. Later, Noah. Have fun. If you're just coming into the stream, don't forget to hit the like button. We're almost at 100 likes today. Wouldn't that be crazy? And if you would like me to flex my buff biceps again, donate some of your hard-earned cash. And we'll fill it up. You see? We'll fill it up. Okay, before we move on, oh my god, I cannot talk today. Okay, so before we move on, do the sharing of the video, please. If you already liked it, then do the sharing of the video. I would appreciate that. Just a little teeny tiny thing you can do to help the content reach more people, because more people need to know what's happening in the world. And by the world, I mean in the United States, specifically as it relates to trans people. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Before we totally move on, Droning Goddess says if you are doing any kind of civil disobedience as a trans person where you might get arrested, do not carry anything sex related like condoms or lubricant because the cops will probably also try to charge you with like prostitution or something. So just be aware of that also. Try not to have anything with you, I guess. It's like, why just, you don't need anything with you. If you're planning on getting arrested, they will steal your shit. So just don't have it with you. For our next story, I want to talk about YouTube. In fact, this might end up being something that I separately record a separate video about so that the comments that I'm going to be making here stand alone and not just in the context of a hour-long video. But YouTube has removed a protected class from their hate speech policy. There's this, policy where it's like you can't just shit talk people for being black or having a different religion or whatever. And up until just now, basically, sometime between January 25th and February 7th this year, Trump has quietly updated the hate speech policy to remove the phrase gender identity. Oh my God, what is this? User Mag. Oh, this is Taylor Lorenz. Okay, I respect her so much. Taylor Lorenz has said, she puts this in her article, YouTube doesn't allow hate speech toward a number of groups. Content that promotes violence or hatred toward users over their race, nationality, religion, disability, and veteran status is explicitly barred. Hate speech against someone's gender identity and expression was also once barred, but that phrase has been removed. The removal of the gender identity and expression category has caused anger in the trans and non-binary communities who see it as a direct attack on their ability to safely use the platform. A spokesperson from GLAAD says that YouTube's move here is a major radical shift away from best practices in the field of trust and safety and content moderation. Excuse me. Much like Meta's recent dangerous rollbacks of hate speech protections for trans and non-binary people, the removal of these specific words appears to be a responsive alignment with the anti-LGBTQ agenda of Project 2025, which calls for targeting, quote, woke culture warriors, starting with deleting the term sexual orientation and gender identity. Under the list of examples of hate speech provided on YouTube's policy site, there previously was a quote saying, like, protected group status is just a form of mental illness that needs to be cured. That has been removed. So it used to be explicit. You cannot say on YouTube that trans people or gay people is just, or maybe not gay people, I don't actually know. She says gender identity and expression, but I don't think covers... Okay, so hate speech towards someone over their sex, gender, and sexual orientation is still barred. However, critics will say that gender is different from gender identity and expression. I hate this so much, dude. Like, okay, first of all, YouTube, I know that you do not like us on this platform. I've been knowing that for a while. I'm not going anywhere. I mean, I everything I do is in line with the policies here. So I just, there have been like lots of attacks on trans people on this platform before. YouTube has continued to platform people like, they'll take away direct AdSense funding for people like Steven Crowder, but then it's like he's still on the site though. He's still saying hateful things. We've known for a while that this particular group is not protected by YouTube's policies, but now they're just not pretending to cover these things under the policies. And I just have to say, like, it has, I don't know if this was trans people who did this originally or if this was cis people who did this, but whoever started using the term gender identity really screwed us over, because then, yeah, like cis people get to just have a gender, but trans people have a gender identity, it's like really not a good move. And of course, I would argue that gender is, like sex, gender, and sexual orientation, those things are protected. Then like, I should be protected as a trans person because of my gender, because I have just a gender. But no, I know that the way that these policies are written is explicitly just saying, like, you can't be discriminated against because you're a woman, but if you're a trans woman, then we don't care. This is a huge fumble on the World Health Organization's part, because World Health Organization, Taylor cites it, saying that gender identity refers to a person's deeply felt internal and individual experience of gender, which may or may not correspond to the person's physiology or a designated sex at birth, but it's distinct from gender, which is like, what the fuck is gender then? Who? Like, oh my god, dude. And of course, the GLAAD spokesperson adds, if YouTube's hate speech policy really does still protect people from being targeted from hate on the basis of gender identity, the public-facing policy should continue to say that. So, like, the only reason for them to have changed this policy is because they want to start discriminating against trans people. You know, if this change in language didn't reflect a change in policy, then they wouldn't have needed to change the language, in my humble opinion. So, yeah, I mean, I will say, though, that the moderation tools on YouTube are pretty good. And the way that they work, I think, is fairly sufficient. If you get like a huge inundation of a bunch of hate speech all at once, obviously that does harm your mental health. But since the system works in this way where you can block a user permanently and that automatically hides all their old comments and it prevents them from leaving new comments, but it doesn't prevent them from leaving new comments in a way that they know. They just type their comment and they hit post and it disappears into the void. I am no longer moderating your comments at that point. By the way, if you're like, none of my comments are showing up and I can't find any of my previous comments, it's because I blocked you. And you would have to like start making new accounts in order to circumvent that. But people usually don't know that. So, hot tip for you, make more Google accounts, I guess. YS Project says, I had to deal with so many issues in the comments of hateful fash people without even identifying or showing who I was. For example, it was a video that blew up too big. The flood this lets through is already hitting a lot of larger trans creators at the moment. The pure amount of alt accounts, the fash channer assets make it such a pain. Sure, yeah. And maybe I'm just lucky. I haven't gotten my channel brigaded that I'm aware. I'm not going to say that there's not still a problem, but like all of these various websites are going to be problematic in some way for creators, especially if you're trans. You know, like TikTok is a good place, I guess. Like they don't censor trans people that I'm aware of there. I know Instagram and Meta have this bad like environment and like this bad policy, but you know, Facebook and Instagram and Threads are all still very popular. We're like running out of places to be trans in an unproblematic way. We just have to use the moderation that is available to us to protect ourselves on these platforms, basically. That Domain had to take down their Patreon link, I believe. Why? Is it because they post their nudes there? Or like, I don't know. Why would you have to disconnect your Patreon? Even Blue Sky isn't that friendly on the corporate side. Yeah. I was saying this before we started the segment, but like even Blue Sky, they delete the accounts and GoFundMe links of Palestinians trying to afford food. So, like, I don't know. There's not a single social media out there that isn't problematic in some way. Like Tumblr had the great, like, basically burning of the fucking Library of Alexandria as far as getting, like, purging a bunch of queer content several years ago, including a bunch of informational stuff about surgery and everything. It's like, yeah, all of these platforms are subject to the whims of whoever's president today. When the president is Biden, then Target's like, yeah, let's do pride stuff. And then Trump is president, and they're like, later queers, like, they don't give a shit. Hello. Welcome in, Astra. Yes, it has been a minute. I'm enjoying the setup that I'm creating here. I still need to put up my bow. I need to print my pegs for my bow. I have some art that I want to create to put here. But you know, things are filling out. It's quite nice. We're in the middle of doing all of our news coverage right now for the week. I didn't even know they posted nudes. I don't actually know if Dead Domain posts nudes or if they just post like sexually suggestive cosplay pictures. It might be more along those lines, but I am not, I don't ever click those links to find out what else is in there, so I don't know. So yeah, I guess I'll wrap this YouTube thing up by saying, like, you should make sure you follow the trans creators who you find on YouTube to their other platforms, because you never know if YouTube is going to make some change that, like, okay, maybe they're going to preemptively follow some executive order. If the executive order passes like they were planning in Project 2025, they were saying, we want to make porn illegal and punishable by jail time, and we think trans people are porn, including them just wearing clothes in public as their target gender. So it is possible, if YouTube is on this track of them preemptively, changing things, like they could just nuke my channel, right? And the channel of all these other trans creators that you like. So if you want to continue seeing content from us, like, follow to our website. My website is luxander.net. I also have my Patreon, patreon.com/Luxander. I do have the ability to post some video to my Patreon, but if YouTube goes down, like, I'm probably going to have to start, like, posting on Vimeo or something, a different hosting site, and then posting it on my Patreon, which you can access stuff for free, by the way, over there. It's a place for me to post everything. But, like, that's what I'm saying, though, is, like, you have to follow us on all the other platforms, because you otherwise are probably going to be, like, missing creators and, like, not even knowing it. Yeah, like, what's going to happen if they make even acknowledging our existence tantamount to criminal behavior? So just keep supporting the creators that you care about. If you think that the work that we do is important, find a way to support us, whether that's financially or whether that's just following us on other platforms. Maybe it's boosting and sharing the content that we already make. That's just how it has to be. If the algorithm is going to suppress views, then you guys as the audience, if you want that stuff to get seen, you have to watch the full video and interact and share. Like, that's how YouTube, like, rewards creators. Could stream to Pornhub, true. Well, I guess let's look at our next kind of middle segment here. This is this thing I want to talk about next is ostensibly a good story that I am just not feeling super positive about. So usually what we do is we talk about, like, some challenging and negative stories, and then we have a little bit of an intermission part, and then we talk about positive stories. Today, it's like ostensibly this should be a positive story, or rather these two things I'm going to kind of lump together should be a positive story, but I'm just feeling some kind of way about it. And that's Cory Booker and the hands-off protests. It's like, it's fantastic, the turnout that we saw. Like, I think roughly like 2% of the total population of the United States showed up to a protest this weekend on Saturday. And then Cory Booker, of course, y'all have probably heard of it. You don't need me to tell you that Cory Booker did a kind of a filibuster, not exactly a filibuster. He just spoke, I guess, like against all of these things that have been happening by standing up for 25 hours, 26 hours or so in front of, I think it was, I don't know, I can't remember if it was House or Senate. I'm terrible at remembering those specific details. But he broke the record. The previous filibuster was some guy, Strom Thurmond, I think, who was advocating against the Civil Rights Act. So for that record to be broken by a black man, like, that's pretty significant. But then at the end, and like, I will give him credit, he didn't spend time reading the encyclopedia. It was the Senate, thank you. He didn't spend time reading out of the phone book. He spent that full 25 hours talking about the moment and talking about people who are being harmed by these changes, this cutting of Social Security or whatever, like the disruptions that are being induced by like the cutting of staff and everything. He managed to spend all that time usefully, right? But then at the end, he voted, along with all the other Democrats, unanimously to confirm Trump's appointee, which was ostensibly what he was protesting, or like, I don't know. It's like, on the one hand, I'm trying to give Democrats credit for doing things because I have been frustrated. I have been criticizing Democrats for the last several weeks. You know, Gavin Newsom, having Charlie Kirk on his whatever. Like, I have been expressing my disappointment in Dems. So on the one hand, I do want to acknowledge, like, yo, you're doing something, right? But like, why did you vote to confirm the guy at the end? And he also wasn't filibustering a bill. Like, the power of the filibuster is that sometimes they'll wait to vote on a bill until like the last day of the session, and then they go away to summer break or something for like a few months, and then they come back, right? And killing a legislation for an entire session can be very impactful in the longer term. Excuse me for that. But he was not blocking anything. Like, basically, you stand up there and you talk until the clock runs down, and then there's no time to vote on the thing anymore. But that wasn't the case here. There was no like deadline. They're not ending the session. It was performative, in my opinion, for Cory Booker to stand up there for 26 hours, especially because of his vote at the end. Like, it's performative, and like, on the one hand, yes, you did something, but on the other hand, you kind of didn't do anything. And then that ties in also with the hands-off protests, which I have been seeing a ton of pictures from. There was a mass mobilization on Saturday, April 5th. And the problem I'm having with this is that we've been doing massive protests like this for years now. There's George Floyd protests. There's like so many things. We've been showing up. We've had like President's Day protests and fucking Tesla protests and everything. And what has changed in the past 8 years? I also find it kind of challenging that this event, I don't think, has a clear political message. Like, there aren't any clear demands being made. There isn't a clear policy position being advocated for. You know, just looking at the signs, and it's going to be kind of tricky for me to show you pictures of the signs because I do not want to show pictures of the protesters. themselves. I think that it's very stupid for you to show up to a protest with your whole face out, not only because there are multiple respiratory illnesses that will put you in bed for the rest of your life and you will not be able to so much as go to the bathroom without assistance. Wear a mask, okay? Be smarter than like if you know it's an act of resistance because the fucking Trump Health and Human Services, they're trying to remove vaccines and remove the ability to wear masks and stuff. Like, you got to know that it's resistance. If you know that if Trump wants you to get sick, you should not get sick because Trump wants you to get sick, okay? But also having your whole face out at a protest, not a smart move. Wear a mask. Don't get sick. Hide your identity. Leave your phone at home. Do not bring anything with you. Be careful even bringing a sign with you, because if you accidentally bump into somebody, they could be considered that aggravated assault. Just be careful, okay? Anyway, so I see this one says hands off science. I'm just doing a little Google search. And again, I'm like it's kind of hard for me to post pictures on here. I just want to tell you what I'm seeing. This person says, hands off my VA, no tax break for billionaires, hands off my son's Medicaid, Trump golfs while economy burns. These are from all across the country. Hands off my Social Security, hands off my research, science saves lives, women's rights, hands off Social Security, hands off our democracy. I don't feel that there's a cohesive message here, partially because there are so many things that are being attacked right now. So this one person's sign says hands off national parks, healthcare, Social Security, education, LGBTQ plus, democracy. Our I can't read what it says. Our history, present, and future. So basically, I am feeling a little like this is good in an incremental sense. We want people to show up, but what threat is there? What are we threatening? And I don't mean that in a violent way, but I mean I think that the implication of a peaceful protest is oh, we won't vote for you. But they don't plan on having a free election ever again. So why would they care about whether you know what I'm trying to I just don't. Why would they care about whether you're going to vote for them? What is the stated intention or threat or policy position here? Are you going to clog up the highway? Are you going to block entrance into a government building? What are you going to actually do that's going to disrupt things? Because nobody gives a shit about your peaceful protest. It does not change anything. And this is why I feel like I have become a cynical person and why this did not fit for me in a positive news story context. I'm glad to see more people getting activated. I just would like them to think about this beyond the scope of just showing up and walking around for a couple hours and hosting super spreader events in the downtown of their city. YS says, I went to one of these protests, but it did not present in a way that could threaten anything, honestly. Yeah. Mira says, you're articulating what I couldn't think of as to why the streams of the hands-off protests gave me more depression and anxiety than hope. I felt like it was too little too late. Yeah. I mean, if all of those people actually obstruct something, that's one thing, right? But this, I don't know. I would like to see more and more and more actions be taken. And if this is somebody's baby's first steps into political activism, then I guess that's a good thing. But I also think that so many folks are constrained by the imposed idea of a peaceful protest and what counts as an appropriate protest and what is acceptable. Because the powers that be have convinced all of us that the only form of acceptable protest is a form of protest that doesn't change anything. Yes, civility politics has very much infected the idea of like, what are we allowed to do in order to reclaim our democracy? They are trying to ruin and destroy democracy. What do you do when your closest held values, like democracy, like free speech, like due process, are being threatened? You show up with a sign and go, I don't like that. I won't vote for you. I don't know, man. It just is woefully insufficient. So I look forward to helping these people who showed up to these protests find more productive ways to funnel that energy. And again, stop with the fucking super spreader events. I'm gonna lose my mind. Yeah, it is a step to connecting people for future actions. I will give it that. They don't plan to have an election ever again. Could you explain that? I don't really know why you need me to elaborate on that. I mean, like, they have a recent executive order that they passed is going to make it to where if your birth certificate doesn't match your present ID, you are not allowed to vote, which means that literally every woman who's ever taken her husband's last name in this country cannot vote. So like, and Trump is like planning on having a third term. He's talking about having a third term. Well, that's against the Constitution. Like, they don't plan on having a real election ever again. They plan on having sham elections where they start doing things like, oh, only one vote per household and shit like that. Like, that is the direction that we are trending. It is entirely possible and likely that we have just witnessed the end of American democracy, period. Like, I don't think people recognize, like, this is a societal collapse we are living through. This is like the government, like the United States might fail, might stop existing as we understand it. Like, that is very much like on the table right now. I've seen people describe Elon and Trump as anarcho-capitalists, and I kind of don't disagree with that assessment. I think they're anarcho-capitalists. I think that they believe that the government should not exist and that everything should be capitalism. And that is like the rule. Is like, if you have money, you are in charge. That's the rules in anarcho-capitalism. They are destroying the government. This could lead to a mass extinction level event. That was already going to happen, to be clear. Even if Kamala Harris had won, she wanted to expand domestic oil production and increase fracking. Like, to be clear, the Democrats were also going to lead us to a mass extinction event. It's just one of them is going to be faster than the other. We're already facing that, though. Like, I don't know if you've noticed, but the past couple of summers and the past couple of winters, actually, we've had extreme weather that, like, is beyond, like, we have these predictive models for climate change that show, like, yo, things are going to continue to get bad in a way that is, like, exponential. Like, it's much worse, much faster than you think. And even with that predictive model of saying, yo, things are going to get bad really fast, things are getting bad worse faster than that. Like, more faster than that. So, like, okay, that's where we are. Like, things are accelerating dramatically at the moment. Anyway, even though I am complaining about the Democrats failing to meet the moment, and Cory Booker even said it himself, he's like, I admit that I have been insufficient to the moment. Like, okay, babe, why did you vote to... You could have just declined to vote for the guy who Trump tried to appoint to whatever that was. But whatever. Anyway, now let's move into our positive part of the show. Because I know that I am a little bit of a cynic, and I don't want to infect you with that. So while I am hoping for more from both Democrats and from the people, including you, we still have to give credit where credit's due. Okay? So now I want to talk about something positive, which is there are things I want to see from the Democrats, and this is something that I think is a positive thing that Democrats have done. Okay, if you live in Georgia, you know that you probably are not going to get much done in terms of progressive ideals, but there are Democrats who still work in the House and Senate in Georgia, right? They're outnumbered, but they're still there. So in Georgia, they have recently had a flood of anti-trans bills, and the Democrats have conducted a walkout because they know even if they got every Democrat to vote with them, that the Republican supermajority in both chambers, coupled with a Republican governor, would simply overrule them. So over 70 lawmakers walked out, and they called out their colleagues in the GOP for inundating the legislature with anti-trans policies while stalling on critical issues like the housing crisis and cuts to Medicaid. Representative Tanya Miller, an Atlanta Democrat serving in the House, says, "We could be solving and tackling the big problems that we were sent here for, yet we waste time." Representative Imani Barnes, also a Democrat, said that there are too many anti-trans bills, continuing by saying they are attacking the LGBTQ community for no reason. "I'm a part of that community, and it means a lot to me." Videos show Democratic state legislators pooling at the stairs inside the Capitol after refusing to vote on yet another bill targeting the trans community, this time on a policy which would ban state funds from contributing to the gender-affirming healthcare of incarcerated trans people. The bill passed. 2 Democrats stayed behind to vote against the bill. 3 Democrats voted in favor of the anti-trans bill. So, I mean, this is, again, like, they go after the most vulnerable, and who's more vulnerable than transgender people who've been incarcerated, often for things that they're just doing for survival purposes. But, you know, they knew that they weren't going to have the votes, that, you know, regardless if they voted against the thing, it wasn't going to pass. So they staged a walkout. And I think that is the kind of thing that we want to see more of. Like, I still don't think that it's sufficient, obviously, but I just want to see something meaningful, or at least taking the futility that you feel and making a spectacle out of that futility. Like, that is something, at least. To compare this to Cory Booker and to explain why I am treating those two things differently, is that Cory Booker did this 26-hour speech, and then voted to confirm the Trump thing. If these Democrats had staged this walkout and then walked back in and voted to confirm the anti-trans law, that would be like, okay, what you just did is completely pointless, right? Taking the futility, the knowing that you do not have the vote, and using that as a teachable moment, walking out saying we refuse to give this the dignity of our presence, because I think that's part of it too. Like, you know, so many of us, when the State of the Union address, or it wasn't even a State of the Union, I guess Trump just doesn't do State of the Union addresses. That's fucking weird. But so many of us were hoping for at least a walkout. Like, can the Democrats get up one by one and just leave, or like all in one motion, they all leave, and then the room is much emptier now, and they're making a statement. Like, even if it's not functionally, like, actually changing anything, you're making the futility of the situation into a statement. And they could have held a press conference outside, right? Like, that's what we were advocating for. So this is that. This is Democrats saying, like, whether we're here to vote doesn't matter. So we're going to use our losing vote to go outside and have a press conference, to go bring attention to this issue, to call out our GOP coworkers for wasting time, for attacking minorities for no reason. Dude, this is crazy. The proponents of the ban claim that this would be a poor use of funds for the grand total of 5 incarcerated trans people receiving this state-subsidized health care. The 5 trans people in that state. You're passing a law to restrict health care access for 5 incarcerated people. Yeah, I would say this is, yeah, somewhat similar to what the right did when they refused to vote on Obama's Supreme Court pick. I mean, except that they actually obstructed his ability to appoint somebody to the Supreme Court, which has led us to the situation that we're in now. Is a little bit different, but yes, similar tactics, sure. So, shout out to those Democrats in Georgia. You're doing your best. Yeah, of course. We never have a discussion of like, are you going to deny people this healthcare if they've had their gonads removed and they need that hormone in order to like not get sick in a more holistic way? I don't know. Oh, I guess I might have had it wrong. I thought that Booker was one of the Democrats who voted for the whatever was up to issue. It's so hard to keep track of all this shit. But I guess maybe it wasn't Booker himself, but rather the whoever the Democrats were voted unanimously. Like not a single protest vote is what I'm saying. Streamathon for trans healthcare. Was that Mercury Stardust? I know that she recently did her fundraiser thing, which is great. I love it when people, use those giant platforms for good. And the trans handy ma'am, she's got stuff to teach you. She's got things for you to learn. I felt like the federal protections were the only thing protecting me from the worst case as a trans person in a red state, and now that's just gone. I admit I'm feeling pretty hopeless these days. Yeah, I have to say, like, that, that's why I moved to a blue state, because I was like, even when Biden was in charge, they were not as aggressive as I was hoping they would be in reining in these red states. So, create supportive relationships with other trans people in your community and consider moving. That's kind of all I can give you right now, because who the fuck knows what's going to happen over the next 5 years. Anyway, this is supposed to be the good news part of the show. Next good news. Next. Supreme Court race in Wisconsin. Eh? Eh? This is good, right? Partially because Wisconsin absolutely is potentially going to be one of the arbiters of future elections. So this is a huge, huge win for democracy in the long term. Susan Crawford was running for the Supreme Court in the state of Wisconsin. Elon Musk tried so hard. He showed up. He funneled a lot of money into it. This is what we were discussing last week with him, like offering to give voters money to vote and like that being illegal. And then he did it anyway. And then like it didn't matter in the end because Susan Crawford won. She has secured a 10-year term over Brad Schimmel, who was the former Republican Attorney General. This is the first major battleground state election of President Donald Trump's second term, and the technically nonpartisan contest drew national attention and became the most expensive state Supreme Court race in U.S. history. Here's a chart. How much billionaires are pouring into Wisconsin Supreme Court race? Like, they dumped a bunch of money into this. Elon Musk, through his PACs, donated like almost $20 million. So yeah, that's how much money they spent, and still they could not win. And voters reject anti-trans ads and Elon Musk. So they were, campaigning on anti-trans bullshit as per usual. Like Brad Schimmel, I think, was, running on this like, oh, they're gonna destroy America because of trans people thing. It's pretty stock standard bullshit. Much of the money backing Schimmel went toward political ads, many of them targeting trans people. One ad, now unlisted on YouTube, titled Not Okay, framed transgender rights as a, quote, radical agenda, denounced gender-affirming care for minors, railed against trans people using bathrooms aligned with their identity, and objected to trans girls participating on girls' sports teams. It's like, genuinely, it's wild that they're like on every election, they're gonna just throw every anti-trans talking point at the wall. I'm getting so much practice working on my arguments. But anyway, it didn't work. It turns out being super anti-trans all the time is not a winning issue. It turns out even Republicans, like Republican voters, are even tired of your shit. They do not care. They want egg prices to come down. They don't want to spend an extra $10,000 on their fucking truck, like. So we just want to acknowledge and celebrate that this is an important win. It's an important loss for Trump and for the Republican Party going forward. Obviously, there's like appeals processes, and even if the Wisconsin Supreme Court legitimizes the an election result that is not favorable for Republicans in the future, because that's what is at issue here, is if there is a question about the legitimacy of elections, Wisconsin and like its position within the appeals court system as well, like swing states are like the swing states are going to be laser focused in terms of like who actually won the election. And interestingly, I haven't like really researched into this because I don't actually know what evidence is present. But I have seen some intimations that the voting machines in Pennsylvania might have been compromised. So like, yeah, they might have already won an election because they fucked with the voting machines. So we really need Democratic people in these Supreme Court positions. So that's a great win. We celebrate, we clap, we high five. We high five. Excuse me. Drinky, drinky, the tea. Drinky, drinky, tea. Yum, yum, yum. Oh my god, we have 98 likes. Can we get to 100 today? That would be based. We're about to do our last story for today. So let me just quickly, before we get to our last story, okay? For the YouTube audience, if you have not yet hit the like button, please do so. Leave your comments down below if I missed anything this week or if you want to elaborate on anything. Subscribe, check your notifications, and check out the links in the description if you want to support the show financially, whether that's through purchasing a gift or whether that's a one-time donation or whether that's a recurrent donation on Patreon. You will get access to additional stuff if you do that, and it supports this journalism so that I can continue to do it. Thank you very much. There, we hit 100 likes. Boom. Boom. Okay. Our last story for today. It's the best news I've heard in a while. It's the best news. There has been a proposed ballot initiative in California called the Luigi Mangione Act. And what this is it's a Basically, they're trying to put it to vote. That's what a ballot initiative is when they put it to the vote. And this is an official document. Like, to be clear, it's filed with the Office of the Attorney General in Sacramento, California. The title is the Luigi Mangione Access to Healthcare Act. So obviously, these bills have names that are more like a string of numbers. Initiative 25-0002, but colloquially called the Luigi Mangione Access to Healthcare Act. What? That's crazy. So it's about the standards of healthcare. The people of the state of California enact this initiative as Health and Safety Code Section 15300 to be known as the Luigi Mangione Access to Healthcare Act. No insurer may delay, deny, or modify any medical procedure or medication, or reduce or deny payment for any medical procedure or medication recommended by a treating or attending physician where the delay, denial, or modification could result in disability, death, amputation, permanent disfigurement, loss, or reduction of any bodily function. Furthermore, any decision by an insurer to either delay, deny, or modify any medication or medical procedure or reduce, delay, or deny payment for any medical procedure or medication recommended by a patient's treating or attending physician can only be made on behalf of any insurer by a physician. So, like, you have to have a physician involved in the decision-making if you are going to deny, delay, or whatever, any care that was recommended by that person's doctor. This is huge and like wild. And this continues, of course, like if any insurer delays, denies, or modifies these medical procedures, in the event that a lawsuit is filed, any insurer, any person acting on behalf of any insurer who did this has the burden to prove by clear and convincing evidence that such medication or medical procedure is unnecessary or will not result in these disability, death, and impairment. The insurer is liable for treble damages and attorney fees. It also says you cannot have any employment of or conspiracy to employ any person who is not a physician to review a decision made by a treating or attending physician. That will be a felony. So this is hilarious and amazing and really, really challenges this notion that violence is never the answer, that violence will never accomplish anything. Because do you also remember how one of the healthcare insurance companies was like, we're going to start limiting how much anesthesia we pay for? And then Brian Thompson died and they were like, actually, never mind about the anesthesia. Never mind. Don't look at us. Don't, no, never mind. So this is very funny. I don't know how it works with ballot initiatives. Like, I think that it has to be approved before it can go on the ballot for people to vote for. So I do not know if this is going to make it any further than just being a proposal. But hilarious. Love that. Excited to see what happens next. I did see that the Pam Bondi, who is the current U.S. Attorney General at the Department of Justice, she has said, she has directed the federal prosecutor to be seeking the death penalty for Luigi Mangione, which is fucking stupid because that means it's way less likely that he's going to get convicted. But whatever. The man is innocent until proven guilty. This is another thing that you have to... The man is innocent until proven guilty. But they're out here like, we're going to seek the death penalty and also let's name a law after him. Like, regardless if he actually did it, regardless what happens to him, his name has become something. He has become a symbol, whether he did it or not. Like, and we cannot say, because the justice system is supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. We cannot say whether he did it or not. That's the whole fucking point of a trial. But this is a galvanizing moment that I hope that we continue to take into the next couple years of activism that we have. Yeah, I there's so much that you could say on the subject. so many different directions you can go with this. I'm sure it's terrifying for these CEOs and stuff, and for Elon Musk and people like that, to realize that we just don't think that they are people in the same way that they don't really think that we are people. Because boy, isn't dehumanization terrifying, isn't it? Yeah, wait, if violence isn't the answer, isn't the death penalty violence? Yeah. Well, again, it's because the state gets to define what is violence, and the state gets to do violence and say that it's not violence, and then you peacefully block machinery from working and they call that violent, and then they beat you up for it. So, yeah. I heard there was a good chance that what little evidence they have might be thrown out as fruit of the poisonous tree. Well, we'll see. We'll see. You know, we'll just have to wait and see what plays out. I think that if they kill him, that's a big fucking mistake, but we'll just have to see what happens. I think people would lose their minds if they gave him the death penalty. Yo, people would freak out, but we'll see. I just thought that was funny, and I wanted to share it with you because it's very funny. The Luigi Mangione Access to Healthcare Act. God bless America. Okay, so that is going to be it for today's YouTube video. The stream may continue for another couple of minutes, but as per usual, thank you for participating. Even if you skipped around in the video, still, thank you for being here. I appreciate your support in whatever way you choose to do that. And I will plan to see you all in the future. Yeah. Okay, I'm still going to stream for another couple minutes probably. I was thinking maybe I wasn't going to do the full thing, but then here I am and it's almost 3 o'clock, so I did the 4 hours. Good stuff. The Passion of Luigi Mangione. True. Yes, I've been seeing people doing the Saint Luigi paintings and stuff. No, not yet. Thank you, in a box with the $20 post-video dono. Grats on the video. Thank you. Very much appreciate that dono. It's a beautiful spring day. I have shit to do. I gotta do my grocery run today. But it has been good to hang out with y'all and read the news and all that shit. Okay. The Passion of Sacco and Vanzetti. Check it out. Look into the story. I will probably forget that later. But yeah, I'm hungry, so it's time for me to go eat lunch. And no, you missed all of Strem. You did. I've been streaming for 4 hours and you missed it. So sad. But yeah, so this week, just so y'all know, I'm planning to stream on Wednesday, and I'm not gonna have Takis on Thursday. So that's what we're looking forward to for the rest of the week. All right. Love y'all. Be good. Oh, I didn't do a call to action. I completely forgot about the call to action. Do I include a call to action now? Oh no. I gotta edit in a call to action. I have to edit in a call to action. Okay. What am I gonna do for today? Oh no, what am I gonna do for my call to action today?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Mira, for the $10 super chat. Reposted in the Discord links section about the proposal to remove trans healthcare from the ACA. We have till April 11th to comment against it. Call to action. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm trying to recommend calls to actions I think are gonna actually do anything, and I don't think that you're gonna accomplish anything by commenting on that. Like, of course they're gonna remove the trans. I just don't see the point in stating your disapproval of that. Oh god. I want to just go run for something.net again. Baby, bye, bye, bye. True. Okay, maybe I'll include that and just do, like, I'll include something else in addition to that. Okay, where was that? Okay, I found it. Touch grass as homework. The weather is lovely right now. I was thinking I can go ahead and do something like, get outside, volunteer at a garden, um, support your local parks or something, donate to the National Park Service or something. I don't know. Something along those lines. Okay, before we actually end, I want to do calls to action. We got to touch our grass with the good news. We had the good news segment, and now I wanted to give you call to action. Take some of this energy and actually do something. So one thing that you can do that is brief and will not take very long is you could submit public comment. The Affordable Care Act, the feds are trying to take trans healthcare out of the Affordable Care Act and make it so that marketplace insurance is not required to protect it. So you can click this link in the description and submit your public comment so that, you can say, like, I want trans care to continue to be covered. Now, that's one thing that you can do. I want to give you at least one other thing. I mean, this one's a little bit more broad. So take your quick second to submit your public comment stating support for trans healthcare under the Affordable Care Act. And then my other thing that I want you to do this week, between now and next week, is essentially to touch grass. Get out there in the world if you're physically capable, obviously. And, if you're not physically capable, maybe just crack open a window and enjoy the outside. But I would like to suggest that you volunteer your time to do something like clean up the side of the highway, or get involved in a community garden, or support your local parks. If you can, if there's anything in your community about like allocating more funds to parks, if there's any way that you can financially support the National Park Service, buying a camping license for the day or whatever, supporting public parks systems, do something that's going to get you outside in the world, because it's a beautiful spring that we're having. And we want to encourage everybody to not forget, like, okay, we want you to remember that the world is a beautiful place. The world is worth protecting. The environment is worth protecting. You belong to the earth, and you should dedicate some of your time and service to this earth. So take your moment to do your public comment on that Affordable Care Act thing, and then get your ass out there in the world and touch grass. All right. That's the call to action. My whole house smells like delicious pork broth. Why would I want to go outside? I know. Well, if you go outside, then when you come back inside, you get hit with that brand new wave of delicious pork broth. When you're just sitting in the house with the pork broth, you lose the smell, Like you become accustomed to it. So you got to walk outside to walk back in and be like, pork broth, All right, now I'm going to end the show. Okay, thank you all. We appreciate you. We'll see